Chapter 905. Ning Cheng sighed. He knew that Man Huishan had succeeded. He didn't know if the experts on the stage would help him or not. If these people didn't help him, then he could only try using the breaking boundary talisman. However, Ning Cheng didn't think that he would have a chance to use the breaking boundary talisman while Man Huishan locked him down. People really couldn't be too greedy. If he hadn't been greedy for the extraterritorial spirit spring, it would have been strange if Man Huishan could find him. The middle-aged female cultivator's tone also softened. Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon, if you have nothing else to do, please sit down and continue watching the tournament. Man Huishan cupped his fists again and said, "This time, I came here to see the future geniuses of my Grand Essence realm, and to take away someone." After saying that, Man Huishan's gaze fell on Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng weren't in the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meat, he would have taken Ning Cheng away a long time ago. After all, this place wasn't the wild, and he had to take care of the experts presiding over the Great Meat. Sometimes he couldn't just do whatever he wanted. The middle-aged female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng with a hint of displeasure in her eyes. She didn't expect Ning Cheng to take advantage of them. If Ning Cheng hadn't greeted her loudly, she wouldn't have hesitated to say please. Ning Cheng, on seeing that the middle-aged female cultivator didn't speak up for him, understood that this woman was afraid. He felt a little disappointed. From the looks of it, he had to control everything in his hands. Without strength, all schemes would be in vain. The red-faced old man chuckled. "Dragon Emperor, if you want to take away someone, then you can. As long as it's not someone from the top 13 of my Grand Essence Great Meat." Man Huishan laughed and cupped his fists. "Many thanks, Holy Emperor Extreme Void. I won't take away anyone from the top 13. I just want to take away this cultivator named Jihe. It's just a little personal matter with him." Man Huishan's voice suddenly stopped. He saw the array formation display clearly showing that among the top 13 people who advanced to the next round, Jihe was one of them. How was this possible? How long had it been since Jihe entered the top 25 to him arriving here? At most, it would have been an hour. Moreover, when he arrived, he had already scanned Ning Cheng with his spiritual consciousness, and knew that Ning Cheng hadn't done anything within the hour. Suddenly, Man Huishan thought of one of the possibilities, a buy. Sure enough, just as Man Huishan figured it out, the old man called Holy Emperor Extreme Void shook his head and said, "Dragon Emperor, it's really unfortunate. This he just advanced to the top 13 with a buy." Man Huishan's face turned a little ugly, and his tone fluctuated slightly. "Everyone, this person shouldn't be Jihe. He pretended to be Jihe's identity and killed my 9th son, Manjuran, in the mystic realm. I must take him away." Whether Ning Cheng killed Manjuran or not, Man Huishan wasn't sure. It didn't matter, as long as he could take Ning Cheng away. With Man Huishan's words, even the red-faced old man, Holy Emperor Extreme Void, who had previously spoken up for Ning Cheng, couldn't continue to speak up for him. He had already seen through Ning Cheng's disguise a long time ago. If not for Man Huishan, he wouldn't have cared about such things. But now Man Huishan came and directly pointed out that Ning Cheng not only changed his appearance, but also killed Manjuran. If he still spoke up for Ning Cheng at this time, then it would mean that he would end up becoming enemies with the entire Barbarian Dragon clan. If Ning Cheng's origin wasn't ordinary, then he wouldn't have helped him. But now, Ning Cheng clearly showed that he was a rogue cultivator with no background. Who would want to help him? Since Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't continue to speak, the others didn't want to draw hatred for no reason. Jihe killed Manjuran in disguise, so it was understandable that Man Huishan would take him away. However, no one took the initiative to help Man Huishan, or ask him to take Ning Cheng away. Seeing this situation, Man Huishan sneered in his heart. He knew that he had succeeded. Now he didn't need to say anything. He just needed to take away the fake Jihe. Ning Cheng's heart sank, but he didn't stand up to refute. In such a situation, refuting would be meaningless. Man Huishan suddenly grabbed him and took him away. No one would stand up to help him. No matter what he said, it would be useless. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness connected to the breaking boundary talisman, and he prepared to burn all bridges to activate the talisman. "Wait, Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon. After all, Jihe is in the top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meat. It would be unfair to take him away just based on one side of the story. Holy Emperor Extreme Void suddenly spoke up and stopped Man Huishan. After he finished speaking, he smiled and said to Ningcheng, Jihe, you should also tell us the whole story. We host the Grand Essence Great Meat here. Not only do we have to ensure fairness in the competition, but we also have to ensure the safety of the participating disciples. Ningcheng looked at Holy Emperor Extreme Void gratefully and nodded. He understood that Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't really want him to tell the whole story, but to give him time to escape. It didn't matter if he used talismans or other means. As long as he had the means, he could use this time to escape. Jihe, I thought you had left. I didn't expect you to still be here. Looks like my luck is really good. A crisp woman's voice arrived, and a woman in black with a veil covering her face appeared in front of Ningcheng. Ningcheng quickly stopped activating the breaking boundary talisman and cupped his fists towards the woman. Jihe greets Senior Nia. The black-robed woman smiled at Ningcheng. It looks like you're in a bad situation, huh? Ningcheng nodded. Yes, I didn't know that the Grand Essence Great Meat doesn't even have personal safety. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have participated in this competition. If it weren't for Senior Holy Emperor Extreme Void, I'm afraid I would have become the first cultivator to get taken away in the Great Meat. Ningcheng's words made the faces of the several powerhouses hosting the Great Meat turn ugly. Nevertheless, these people still greeted the black-robed woman. Star-stepping Tower Master. This Jihe came to participate in the competition in disguise. He's involved in the murder of my son Manjuran. I want to take him away. Man Huishan saw the black-robed woman coming over, and immediately felt a bad feeling in his heart. The black-robed woman looked at Man Huishan coldly. Are you the host of the Grand Essence Great Meat? Or is there a rule in the Grand Essence Great Meat that forbids participation in disguise? The black-robed woman spoke so rudely that Man Huishan couldn't keep his face. He was a dragon emperor, and when it came to reputation, he was more than 10,000 times better than this black-robed woman. So you want to stand up for him? Should my son Manjuran be killed by him? Manjuran couldn't find the words to refute the other party, so his tone turned cold. Although this star-stepping tower master was powerful, he didn't feel afraid. The black-robed woman spoke up with disdain. Your son Manjuran? That idiot who acted arrogantly in my star-stepping tower, and ended up having his hands and feet broken by me? It's good luck for such a person to live until now. You. Man Huishan didn't expect this black-robed woman to not give him any face. Feeling angry, a powerful aura gushed out, causing the entire space to tremble. The cultivators who came to watch the competition, on seeing Man Huishan and the star-stepping tower master, almost ran away in fear. If these two really started fighting, only a few people would be able to escape. The Heaven Essence public square suddenly turned chaotic. Countless cultivators rushed out in a hurry. The few powerhouses hosting the competition on the main stage quickly rushed out and stopped the two people. If Man Huishan and this black-robed woman fought in the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square, the entire Heaven Essence Sacred City would turn to ashes. After the two people stopped, the public square regained its order. Some fearful cultivators quietly retreated. Man Huishan knew that the other party didn't fear him, and could only give a hateful snort. But he didn't leave. If he didn't take Ningcheng away today, he wouldn't give up. Ningcheng quickly cupped his fists towards the black-robed woman and said, Many thanks for Senior's life-saving grace. The black-robed woman showed a faint smile. Don't thank me. I'm here to trade with you. If you don't have what I need, then I'll leave immediately. Whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. Ningcheng knew that there was no free lunch in this world. Therefore, he no longer thanked the other party and asked in a deep voice, I wonder what Senior wants to trade with me? I want that medicinal pill. How many do you have? The black-robed woman stared at Ningcheng and asked. Although her expression remained calm, she felt nervous in her heart. She was afraid that Ningcheng would say that he didn't have such medicinal pills on him. Ningcheng also felt relieved. Although the other party didn't say it clearly, he understood what medicinal pills this black-robed woman wanted. He even felt a little grateful towards Xian Xiao and Wu Qihong. If not for these two, the other party wouldn't have known that he had the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill. Ningqing didn't hesitate to take out 10 jade bottles and put them in the black-robed woman's hands. I only have these 10 bottles. I'll give them all to Senior. These 10 bottles of medicinal pills were originally meant for Qi Shixingsing, but now he had to take them out to save his life. Transactions were divided into many parts. One of them was a transaction where one couldn't bargain. Ningqing faced such a transaction right now. He felt helpless and could only accept his fate. His life was now in the hands of others. Since someone had finally come to help him, he didn't want to make any mistakes. The black-robed woman naturally knew about the preciousness of the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill. She originally wanted to get 10 or 20 pills from Ningqing, but she didn't expect Ningqing to take out so many pills at once. 10 bottles at a time. These standard jade bottles contain 12 pills per bottle. In other words, the other party had taken out 120 Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills at once. The black-robed woman couldn't wait to open a jade bottle. But when her spiritual consciousness fell on the 12 top-quality Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills, an extremely pure aura that could cleanse one's sea of consciousness poured in. It almost made her drunk. Although the black-robed woman closed the jade bottle after opening it, the spiritual consciousness of the several experts on the public square still caught a trace of a refreshing aura that could cleanse one's sea of consciousness. Was it the Spirit Essence pill? The legendary Spirit Essence pill wasn't this powerful, right? Moreover, the pill recipe for the Spirit Essence pill had long since been lost. What's more, the divine chalcedony used to refine the Spirit Essence pill was an extremely rare treasure. Seeing the black-robed woman put away all the jade bottles with joy in her eyes, the several experts felt a little itchy in their hearts. They couldn't wait to take out the black-robed woman's jade bottles and have a look. Everyone here knew about the power of the Star-Stepping Tower's master. They also knew that the black-robed woman dared to look at the jade bottles in front of them. Chapter 906. Yes, that's the medicinal pill. Thank you, Jihe. What do you want? Speak. The black-robed woman's tone suddenly relaxed, and her gaze towards Ningqing turned a lot friendlier. Ningqing bowed again with cupped fists and said, I just need to wait for the great meet to end. Senior can guarantee that I can reach the extraterritorial spirit spring safely. As for anything else, I don't want anything. He was a Tao sculpting pill deity, an artifact crafting expert, and had piles of divine grasses. For him, spirit crystals were secondary. The most important thing was to save his life and go to the extraterritorial spirit spring to transform his spirit essence. Moreover, Ningqing knew very well that in the face of such a powerhouse, the less he asked for, the better. Even if the black-robed woman opened the jade bottle on the spot, he couldn't show even the slightest dissatisfaction. He could tell that this black-robed woman was an absolute powerhouse. At the same time, the other party had the same thoughts as him. She didn't treat him as an equal. The first factor she considered was her own interests. What made Ningqing feel relieved was that this black-robed woman was a person who kept her promises. After trading with him, she didn't give him anything but instead asked him what he needed. The black-robed woman nodded. Ningqing gave her 10 bottles of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills, which made her feel very satisfied. She naturally didn't care about Ningqing's request. Originally, she planned to take out a summoning card for Ningqing. Once Ningqing came out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, she could protect Ningqing again. But after thinking about it, she didn't do so. First, Ningqing was just an ant-like existence. After this transaction, whether he lived or died in the extraterritorial spirit spring would have nothing to do with her. Second, she didn't fear Man Huishan, but she also didn't want to offend someone like Man Huishan for a little eternal cultivator she didn't know. Okay. From now on, until we enter the extraterritorial spirit spring, I will protect you. The black-robed woman said with a calm tone. Ningqing didn't feel much disappointed. It was already a big surprise for this black-robed woman to promise to protect him in the extraterritorial spirit spring. He couldn't expect everyone to be the same as him. In fact, if he and the black-robed woman exchanged identities, he would at least make another promise, which was to protect the other party in the extraterritorial spirit spring. The woman in black would not do such a thing, or rather, even if she said so, he could not take it seriously. By the time he came out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, the favor of giving him the pills would have already been used up. Whether or not the other party would still remember him was another matter. Although Man Huishan felt extremely unhappy, he could only swallow his anger. Fortunately, this woman gave him a bit of face. The cultivators who went to the extraterritorial spirit spring stayed there for at most 5 years, while the ones who stayed there for at least a year. Man Huishan couldn't afford to waste this much time. Many thanks, Senior. As long as this junior reaches the extraterritorial spirit spring, the transaction with Senior will come to an end. At that time, Senior will no longer need to do anything for this junior. Ningqing cupped his fists in gratitude. When the black-robed woman heard these words, she looked at Ningqing in amazement. Although Ningqing had spoken these words out of politeness, she naturally understood the meaning behind it. That was after this no one owed anyone anything. You are you, I am me. A puny eternal cultivator dared to speak such words to a powerhouse like her. It showed that he had some guts. She suddenly thought of that man. This little eternal cultivator in front of her had a similar personality to that man. Thinking of this, the black-robed woman froze once again. Over the years, she had been to countless places, experienced countless interfaces and positional planes, but she had never seen a powerhouse like that man. Yet this little eternal cultivator in front of her gave her the feeling of a powerhouse at that moment. The black-robed woman shook her head and tried to put these messy thoughts aside. It must have been an illusion. Ningqing also felt a little relieved when he saw that Man Huishan didn't continue. If Man Huishan really wanted to fight the black-robed woman, Ningqing guessed that he would do everything he could to escape. It would be fine if the black-robed woman could crush Man Huishan. But if the black-robed woman and Man Huishan were equally matched, this star-stepping tower master wouldn't care about Ningqing's life. The few powerhouses presiding over the Grand Essence Great Meet, on seeing that the star-stepping tower master and Man Huishan didn't continue to argue about Ningqing's matter, also stopped. As for the others, no one cared about whether he was telling the truth or not. Without Man Huishan's interference, the top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meet quickly came out. Lu Yixian, Guahaoga, Jipingzhong, and Yining occupied 4 of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. In addition, there was also Shui Yueka of the 9 revolving sacred Dao Pond, Yin Xishuang of the 7-star sacred shrine, Mu Shuifeng of the Grand Essence Domain's Mu clan, Run Jinj of the Big Dipper 7 Peaks, Zhu Nian of the Grand Essence Sea's Silver Dragon clan, Zhongming Yuxiu of the Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace, and Fuzi Fuyue of the Grand Essence Realm's Fuzi clan. Including the 2 rogue cultivators, Aiden and Ji He, there were 13 people in total. Ningqing paid some attention to Fuzi Fuyue of the Fuzi clan. He had killed a fellow from the Fuzi clan, but he didn't expect to see someone from the Fuzi clan here. This Fuzi Fuyue looked similar to the Fuzi clan he killed. He wore silver robes, had silver hair and blue eyes. The only difference was that Ningqing couldn't tell whether Fuzi Fuyue was a man or a woman. Just as Ningqing wondered how to select 10 out of 13 people, Holy Emperor Extreme Void once again stood on the battle stage and spoke with a clear voice. The top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meet have come out. Just like in the past, 10 people will go to the extraterritorial spirit spring. If you don't want to go to the extraterritorial spirit spring, please stand on the battle stage. Ningqing felt a little speechless. If they didn't want to go to the extraterritorial spirit spring, why did they fight so hard before? Wasn't the reason why they fought so hard to get to the extraterritorial spirit spring? What puzzled Ningqing was that someone really stood up. Moreover, it wasn't just 3 people. 4 cultivators landed on the battle stage at the same time. Yen Xishuang was among them. Apart from Yen Xishuang, there was also Ren Jinj of the Big Dipper 7 Peaks, Zhu Nian of the Grand Essence Sea's Silver Dragon clan, and Fuzi Fuyue of the Fuzi clan. Seeing the 4 people standing on the battle stage at the same time, Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't seem surprised. Instead, he continued, "Since the 4 of you don't want to go to the extraterritorial spirit spring, we can only continue to choose 3 people to enter the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion through battles." Ning Cheng understood that the Grand Essence domain also had the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion. Since these people could give up on the extraterritorial spirit spring to transform into spirit essence, it showed that the spirit techniques in the Spirit Technique Pavilion weren't simple. To go to the extraterritorial spirit spring to transform into spirit essence, Ning Cheng had to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. The Grand Essence Great Meet wasn't just about going to the extraterritorial spirit spring, but it also involved the distribution of resources between the major sections. At this moment, he also learned that 3 people could enter the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion from the Grand Essence Great Meet. Yan Xishuang looked at Ning Cheng and suddenly said, "Lord Holy Emperor, since there are 4 people who want to go to the Spirit Technique Pavilion, then I'll withdraw and choose to go to the extraterritorial spirit spring." Even if Yan Xishuang only glanced at Ning Cheng, Holy Emperor Extreme Void understood Yan Xishuang's meaning. This woman most likely knew the cultivator who impersonated Ji He. She didn't want to cause any problems and wanted Ji He to enter the extraterritorial spirit spring as soon as possible. Ning Cheng also understood this point and nodded gratefully to Yan Xishuang. He now had to rely on the unreliable Star Stepping Tower's master. This kind of powerhouse had a strange temperament. Who knew if she would suddenly leave? Yan Xishuang also understood that she had to give up the opportunity to go to the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion, because he saved her life. Otherwise, among the 4 people who stood up, Yan Xishuang would have definitely won a spot. Sure enough, Ning Cheng felt the black-robed woman standing on the side breathe a sigh of relief. It seems that she didn't want to stay here for too long. The next round of the Grand Essence Great Meet will continue tomorrow. The 10 disciples heading to the extraterritorial spirit spring, please follow me. The disciples heading to the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion will follow Holy Emperor Ling Zhen. After Holy Emperor Extreme Void finished speaking, he casually threw out an airship-type artifact, and the people heading to the extraterritorial spirit spring quickly landed on Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship. Ning Cheng also cupped his fists towards the black-robed woman and thanked her. "Many thanks for Senior's help. This junior will go first." The black-robed woman nodded to Ning Cheng. "You can go to the extraterritorial spirit spring with peace of mind. I promise I won't let anything happen to you." Ning Cheng didn't doubt the black-robed woman's words because Man Huishan didn't move. Once Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship took off, Man Huishan wouldn't dare to intercept it midway. Ning Cheng felt grateful towards Holy Emperor Extreme Void. He had nothing to do with this old man, nor did he make any promises to him. However, this old man had helped him in every way. Although it was a casual help, it was still very important to him. After the airship took off, Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't appear again. The 10 disciples on the airship were all powerhouses in the Eternal Realm. But after boarding the airship, no one spoke a word. The entire airship remained silent. "Ji He, you don't have to worry. Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon wouldn't dare to intercept Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship, let alone react to the disciples heading to the extraterritorial spirit spring." Yan Xishuang took the initiative to walk over and calm Ning Cheng down. Ning Cheng spoke up with sincerity. "Many thanks for your help, Senior Apprentice Sister Yan. If you need my help in the future, please feel free to speak up." Yan Xishuang showed a slight smile. "You've already helped me. If you hadn't helped me, even if I could escape, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to participate in this Grand Essence Great Meet. By the way, when the real Great Meet starts, you have to be careful of Guokaiga. He seems to have a lot of hatred for you." "The real Great Meet?" Ning Cheng asked in confusion. "Didn't we already compete against each other?" Yan Xishuang shook her head. "We just got the qualification to enter the extraterritorial spirit spring. The real competition is between the top 10. Every time we enter the extraterritorial spirit spring, only a few people come out. It's not surprising. Just be careful." After saying that, Yan Xishuang also walked to the side and sat down, no longer speaking. Ning Cheng didn't continue to ask. He didn't even ask about the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion. If Yan Xishuang hadn't reminded him, how could he have known that the real Grand Essence Great Meet would only start after entering the extraterritorial spirit spring? Yan Xishuang was currently resting. Since Yan Xishuang said that they would have to fight later, then let's fight. After entering the extraterritorial spirit spring, he didn't fear anyone here. Not to mention Guokaiga, even if it was Lu Yixian or Yining, so what? Chapter 907. As the airship got faster and faster, Ningqing estimated that it had already surpassed the maximum speed of his starry sky wheel. After 2 days, the airship finally stopped. After Ningqing followed everyone out of the airship, he found that the airship was now in a void. During the 2 days on the airship, he had refined a few more batches of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills, and left 2 bottles of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills in his room, to give to Holy Emperor Extreme Void. Holy Emperor Extreme Void got off the airship and spoke with a smile. I'll open the restriction array here. You can go in and teleport to the extraterritorial spirit spring. With that, Holy Emperor Extreme Void took out 2 jade cards and sealed them in the void. At the same time, he raised his hand and formed some restrictions. A void gate appeared in front of everyone. Everyone bowed and thanked Divine Emperor Extreme Void before quickly entering the void gate. Ningqing thanked Holy Emperor Extreme Void and stepped through the void gate. But the moment he stepped through the void gate, he received a sound transmission from Holy Emperor Extreme Void. Little fellow, thank you for the 2 bottles of medicinal pills. Remember to take care of the girl who gave up on the Spirit Technique Pavilion for you. People should know how to be grateful. After Ningqing heard these 2 sentences, his figure had already entered the void gate. Seeing that Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't do anything to him, Ningqing felt very lucky. After entering the void gate, it led to a long void passage. If these eternal powerhouses on Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship had remained respectful and courteous. But as soon as they entered the void gate, almost everyone exuded a sharp killing intent. Guohauge's killing intent fell on Ningqing's body, without even half a shred of concealment. The void passage was very long, and the 10 people walked for more than half an hour before arriving at a void teleportation array. This teleportation array looked like it was floating, but Ningqing knew that it was because of the array formation. This teleportation array was built on top of a concealment array formation, and even he couldn't see any clues about it. Ningqing saw the other cultivators rushing into the teleportation array, so he also followed suit. The teleportation array had 10 huge grooves, and each cultivator took out 10,000 spirit crystals and put them into one of the grooves. Ningqing also took out 10,000 spirit crystals and put them into the groove next to him. After the 100,000 spirit crystals fell on the teleportation array, the teleportation array gave out a buzzing sound. Then a white light started to fluctuate. Soon, Ningqing felt his body lighten, and his entire body was teleported away. A burst of dizziness washed over him, and when Ningqing sobered up, he found himself standing on top of a boulder. This boulder had a radius of at least 1,000 feet, and he did not see any transmission arrays around him. Ningqing had a very deep understanding of array formations. As such, he knew that this was one of the most difficult transmission arrays to arrange. Sensing the extremely rich spirit essence qi, Ningqing could not help but take in a deep breath. Not only was the god spiritual qi here dense, but it also contained a pure aura. Even if Ningqing hadn't started cultivating yet, he could already feel that if he cultivated here, the effects would be much better than cultivating with spirit crystals and medicinal pills alone. And this was still outside. Once they entered the extraterritorial artifact, how powerful would the god spiritual qi be? Ningqing finally understood why the extraterritorial spirit spring was so famous. At the end of the boulder, there were 10 more stone doors. Ningqing didn't know anything about the extraterritorial spirit spring. Therefore, he guessed that these 10 stone doors should be the entrance to the extraterritorial spirit spring. Ningqing quickly felt the difference between the 10 stone doors. The first stone door on the left had the densest spirit essence qi, but the spirit essence qi gradually weakened. At the 10th stone door, the spirit essence qi was the weakest. In the middle of each stone door was a groove. Ningqing didn't need to test it to know that this groove was where the qualification card was placed. From the looks of it, to open the stone door, one had to put the qualification card in it. After understanding this, Ningqing immediately wanted to go to the first stone door. But then he stopped, because he saw that no one was moving. It stood to reason that at this time, everyone should be fighting for the stone doors. Why were they all so disciplined? Yan Xishuang's sound transmission arrived in time. Jihe, these 10 stone doors lead to the extraterritorial spirit spring. The first stone door on the left leads to the origin of the extraterritorial spirit spring, which has the best effect. The spirit spring's aura inside is also the most abundant, and it can't be consumed at all. No matter how deep your celestial essence is, this spirit spring will never run out. This stone door should belong to Lu Yixian, so don't fight for it. The density of the spirit spring's aura in the other 9 spirit springs gradually weakens, but each of them has a separate spirit spring's mouth. In general, it's more than enough. If it's not enough, you can use some spirit crystals to replace it. Only when 10 people choose at the same time, and put the qualification card in the 10 grooves would the 10 stone doors open at the same time. When it comes to choosing the stone door, there will be a fight. Remember not to choose the first 3 stone doors. I suggest you wait for Guahauga to choose first before you choose. I choose the first one. Lu Yixian's voice turned cold as he stood directly in front of the first stone door. Aiden showed a smile. I'm sorry, but I'll also choose the first one. Yining directly brought out her golden book, and stared at Lu Yixian and Aiden with a cold gaze. Apparently, she also wanted to choose the first stone door on the left. Just the first stone door was enough to change the situation. Without a fight, there wouldn't be any results. I choose the second stone door. A white-skinned woman walked out, and stood in front of the second stone door. Ningcheng felt a little surprised. He naturally knew this person. She was Zhongming Yuxiu from the Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace. Ningcheng had also seen Zhongming Yuxiu's fights. Although this woman wasn't one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, she should have the same strength as Ji Pingzhong. However, Ningcheng didn't believe that she could occupy the second stone door. Ningcheng hadn't seen Yining and Lu Yixian's full strength. Therefore, Ningcheng still felt that Zhongming Yuxiu wasn't an opponent for either of them. Moreover, that Aiden wasn't any weaker than Yining and Lu Yixian. As for why he made such a comparison, it was because Ningcheng had already decided on the first stone door. Therefore, the others naturally had to choose the other stone doors. Sure enough, only Zhongming Yuxiu chose the second stone door, and no one competed with her. I choose the fourth stone door. Mu Shuifeng spoke up. Mu Shuifeng wasn't one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Therefore, Ningcheng felt that he chose the fourth stone door. I'll also choose the fourth stone door. This time, it was Yan Xishuang who stood up. Since 2 people chose the same stone door, it meant that a fight was about to break out. Seeing that Ningcheng hadn't moved yet, Yan Xishuang's voice came over again. Jihe, when you choose the stone door, if you end up fighting with others, you must save some of your strength to protect yourself. Otherwise, you might end up dead. Yan Xishuang felt a little worried about Ningcheng. If others lost, they might choose the stone door behind them. But if Ningcheng lost, he might end up dead. It was because Ningcheng was a rogue cultivator with no background. 9 revolving sacred Dao pawns Shui Yueka seemed to know that her strength was limited, and chose the 6th stone door. Since no one chose the 5th stone door, no one competed with her for the 6th stone door for the time being. Neither Guahauga nor Ji Pingzhong chose the stone door. However, the killing intent radiating from the 2 grew thicker and thicker, and it kept enveloping Ningcheng. Guahauga kept staring at Ningcheng with a cold gaze. Ningcheng understood what he meant. That is, after he chose the stone door, he would fight for it. After killing Ningcheng in the fight, he would then continue to choose the stone door. Ningcheng spoke up unhurriedly. I choose the first stone door. Everyone felt shocked by Ningcheng's choice. Even Yan Xishuang couldn't help but look at Ningcheng in disbelief. Ningcheng already had Guahauga as an enemy, yet he still chose to provoke powerhouses like Lu Yixian and Yining. Lu Yixian looked at Ningcheng with cold eyes and spoke with a flat tone. You have guts, but you used the wrong method. If you choose this stone door, you'll end up dead. As soon as Lu Yixian's words came out, the rest understood Ningcheng's meaning. It turned out that Ningcheng chose the first stone door to avoid Guahauga, who wanted to kill him. If that was the case, then it was a mistake. As long as you chose the first stone door, You wouldn't be allowed to choose the second stone door without a fight. If you wanted to beg for mercy, you could just take out your ring. Guohao and Ji Pingzhong also understood Ning Cheng's meaning. Therefore he sneered and said, "I'm sorry, but I also chose the first stone door." After saying that, he cupped his fists towards Lu Yixian and Yining. "You two, I'll only fight one round at most. Maybe I'll choose again." Lu Yixian and Yining remained calm and ignored Guohao. They understood that Guohao wanted to kill Ning Cheng before leaving. As one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, Guohao's status couldn't compare to them. Therefore they didn't need to care too much about him. Guohao then turned to Ji Pingzhong, who was eager to try, and said, "Brother Ji, if I find any trash that escapes the net, you can help me get rid of them." It was a greeting to Ji Pingzhong. In case he couldn't kill Ning Cheng, Ji Pingzhong could continue to fight Ning Cheng. Even if Ning Cheng chose the 10th stone door, Ji Pingzhong would still come forward to pick a fight with him. Lu Yixian no longer cared about Ning Cheng and Guohao's personal grievances. Instead, he calmly looked at Yining and Aiden. "Which one of you will go first?" Aiden smiled and waved his hand, causing a black smoke to surround him. "I'll go first. It's my luck to experience the power of the head of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children." The moment Lu Yixian and Aiden started fighting, Guohao's domain swept towards Ning Cheng. He then raised his hand and shot out 5 azure lotus nails, which unscrupulously enveloped Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng showed a cold smile and brought out a middle-rank spirit artifact long spear. At the same time, his domain also pressed down on Guohao without reservation. In this place he didn't have anything to hide. Apart from not using the 7 bridges spirit technique, he had other means to kill Guohao. So what if he was a River Luo sacred sect's sacred son? He had already killed Manjuran of the barbarian dragon clan, so killing Guohao wouldn't be a big deal. Guohao had always wanted to kill him, but Ning Cheng wasn't a person who repaid evil with good. If someone wanted to kill him, he would always use his fists to fight back. Guohao had never put Ning Cheng in his eyes. Moreover, he had seen Ning Cheng's moves before. In his opinion, he could kill Ning Cheng in less than half an incense stick's worth of time. But when Ning Cheng's domain pressed down on him, Guohao found that not only did his domain fail to restrain the other party, but it even started to shatter under the suppression of the other party's domain. Not good. He didn't show his true strength in the great meet. Guohao instantly understood what was going on. Cold sweat oozing out of his back, Guohao frantically burned his essence blood to stimulate the 5 azure lotus nails. He wanted to get out of Ning Cheng's domain. Chapter 908. Under Guohao's frenzied attack, the 5 azure lotus nails erupted with thousands of azure-colored lights. These azure-colored lights instantly fused together, forming a circle of azure-colored ripples. Bang bang bang. The azure-colored ripples collided with Ning Cheng's domain, producing bursts of muffled bangs. Ning Cheng's domain suppressing Guohao finally broke free. Even Ning Cheng's spear patterns tore apart under the waves of azure-colored ripples. When he felt the pressure on his body lighten, Guohao breathed a sigh of relief. Without any hesitation, the azure-colored ripples from the 5 azure lotus nails split again, turning into 5 bursting azure-colored killing intents. This time, the explosive power of the azure-colored killing intents was too strong, and directly broke through Ning Cheng's domain. For Guohao, even if he had to consume some of his lifespan, he wanted to take this opportunity to kill Ning Cheng. This was his most powerful spirit technique, specifically for cultivators with stronger domains than him. This spirit technique was called the Azure Lotus Dragging Nail. Once he met an opponent with a stronger domain, his 5 azure lotus nails could fuse into azure-colored ripples, blocking the opponent's domain and allowing him to escape from danger. Once he escaped from the opponent's domain, the azure-colored ripples would split again. After splitting, the azure-colored ripples would ignore space and nail the opponent in the void in the shortest possible time. His 5 azure lotus nails already had the effect of binding the opponent. Coupled with his space-related spirit technique, the 5 azure lotus nails instantly locked onto the opponent. This spirit technique allowed him to kill several opponents stronger than him. The only drawback was that this spirit technique consumed too much celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. In addition to burning his essence blood, He also had to burn a part of his lifespan. Even if he knew that Guahauga wasn't his opponent, Ningqing didn't underestimate Guahauga. When Guahauga's 5 azure lotus nails broke through his domain's shackles and then struck back at him at the fastest speed, Ningqing became even more cautious. Sure enough, he had a few tricks up his sleeves. The surrounding space paused for a moment, and then a vacuum zone appeared. This vacuum zone was completely under Guahauga's control. Ningqing was also a person who had come into contact with the laws of space, so he was naturally not unfamiliar with this kind of spirit technique. Compared to Qiao Jierui's use of the 5-colored myriad connecting banner to control space, Guahauga's understanding of the laws of space was much better. Since Guahauga was able to display a spirit technique enhanced by the laws of space without using any spatial treasures, it meant that he had also come into contact with the laws of space. If he hadn't touched the laws of space, Ningqing could have only used the time stagnation to escape from the opponent's control of space and then counterattack. At this moment, Ningqing didn't even move. The middle-rank spirit artifact long spear drew a strange arc in the void, and the space under Guahauga's control started to tremble. It was as if someone had suddenly taken something away and disappeared without a trace. Without the cover of the exclusive space, the trajectory of the 5 azure lotus nails clearly appeared in Ningqing's mind. The long spear once again drew a few shadows, bringing along a series of spear patterns. The 5 azure lotus nails and the spear pattern collided, producing a series of clanging sounds. Guahauga's reaction was extremely fast. Since Ningqing had broken through his azure lotus dragging nails, he knew that he was definitely not Ningqing's opponent. Stop! Guahauga's voice was completely torn apart by Ningqing's spear light, and not even a bit of it could be heard. Except for Ningqing, who heard Guahauga's reminder to stop, everyone else felt shocked by Ningqing's power. Ningqing didn't even have any killing intent on his face. Instead, all of his killing intent was focused on the spirit artifact long spear that blocked the 5 azure lotus nails. When he wanted to kill him, he had put in so much effort. But now that he saw that he didn't die, he wanted him to stop? Even if he wanted to dream, he had to dream about something realistic. Sunset's twilight. Ningqing took a step forward, and the long spear in his hand once again shot out. Guahauga was far stronger than ordinary eternal cultivators. Ningqing knew that if he wanted to kill him in a short time, he would have to use a spirit technique. He didn't want Guahauga to say the word, admit defeat. Once Guahauga said that word, it would be against the rules if he killed Guahauga. How could Guahauga not know that Ningqing wanted to kill him? He didn't think that Ningqing would have such courage to kill River Luo's sacred sect's sacred son. He didn't have time to think about anything else and reached out to pat his glabella. A mere rogue cultivator, even if someone had a better understanding of the laws of space than him, couldn't kill him. As the sun set in the west and dusk arrived, a beautiful scene suddenly appeared. Guahauga suddenly felt a sense of sadness in his heart. He felt that he had lost a lot of things since he started cultivating. But life was short, and dusk was just a blink of an eye. Guahauga's palm was just a millimeter away from his glabella, but his palm suddenly stopped. He wanted this dusk to stop and not continue. He still had a lot of things to do. Dusk had truly stopped, and time had truly stopped. An ice-cold murderous intent pierced through Guahauga's palm and reached his glabella. Guahauga suddenly realized that this was a spirit technique. He had fallen into the opponent's concept-type spirit technique, which also fused with the laws of time. Ningqing's spear directly destroyed his trump card. Guahauga, who was on the verge of death, suddenly went crazy. His imposing aura sword and Sunset's twilight disappeared in an instant. Poof! The long spear slammed into Guahauga's glabella. Even if Guahauga's imposing aura soared, it was too late. As soon as the long spear pierced through, Guahauga's aura disappeared without a trace. No matter how powerful the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children were, once they died, they would all turn into corpses. Ningqing raised his hand and swept away Guahauga's things before breathing out a sigh of relief. Guahauga was much stronger than ordinary eternal cultivators. Moreover, when he used Sunset's twilight, he fused his concept-type spirit technique with the laws of time. This allowed Guahauga to remain stagnant for a longer time. But even so, Guahauga quickly woke up. Life and death were decided in a split second. Even if Guahauga woke up in time, he was still too slow. That split second was more than enough to kill him several times over. Gee, he killed Guahauga? What kind of rhythm was this? Why did he show strength far stronger than what he showed on the Grand Essence Grand Tournament stage? Several cultivators who hadn't started yet stared at Ning Cheng in shock. Ning Cheng not only killed Guahauga, but also killed him quickly and easily. Guahauga didn't even get to use his trump card before dying. How many of the cultivators who came here were muddle-headed? Immediately, everyone realized that Ning Cheng had concealed his strength. Ji Pingzhong felt a chill down his spine. He knew Guahauga's strength better than anyone else. Although Guahauga ranked 5th, he wasn't too far behind him. The strength of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children was divided into 3 tiers. The top 3 were 1 tier, which meant that these 3 people were far stronger than the others. The 4th to 7th tiers were 1 tier, while the 7th to 12th tiers were another. In fact, the gap between the other 2 tiers wasn't that big. Only the top 3 were a tier higher. Ji He, whom he initially regarded as a dead man, had killed Guahauga. Guahauga, as one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children and River Luo Sacred Sect's sacred son, naturally had his own life-saving means. But when Ji He killed Guahauga, Guahauga didn't even have to use any life-saving means. Ji He definitely wasn't Ji He's opponent. Ji Pingzhong immediately sobered up and calmed down. Yin Ying's attention was initially focused on the fight between Lu Yixian and Aiden. Aiden, in particular, gave her an elusive feeling. But after Ning Cheng killed Guahauga in a short time, Yin Ying's gaze immediately fell on Ning Cheng. She suddenly felt that it wasn't just Aiden who was elusive. This Ning felt just as strange as she did. Yan Xishuang and Mu Shuifeng were still fighting. Ning Cheng could see that Yan Xishuang had the upper hand, but he didn't care about it. Instead, he looked at Ji Pingzhong. When Ji Pingzhong saw Ning Cheng's gaze sweep over, he felt a chill in his heart. However, he didn't dare to speak. Ning Cheng walked up to Ji Pingzhong and spoke without any hurry. Which stone door are you going to choose? Ji Pingzhong secretly clenched his fists and resisted the urge to attack. Then he walked to the 10th stone door and spoke, I choose the stone door. Compared to spirit essence transformation, staying alive was naturally more important. What's more, even if he entered the 10th stone door, he wouldn't necessarily not be able to transform spirit essence. He was still young and didn't want to lose his life in this place. The Grand Essence's 12 sacred children weren't too old. Once you exceeded a certain age, no matter how strong you were, you wouldn't have the qualifications to be selected as one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Ji Pingzhong chose the 10th stone door mainly because he didn't want to participate in the competition for the stone door. Generally, cultivators who chose the 10th stone door weren't allowed to be challenged, because there was no reason for them to challenge. Of course, if the background of the 2 challengers was too different, the other party might just challenge and kill you. Ning Cheng didn't know about this rule. He just smiled and walked towards the 10th stone door. He looked up at the groove on the stone door and said, I also choose this stone door. Let's do it. Blue veins bulged on Ji Pingzhong's forehead. He chose the 10th stone door, which was tantamount to admitting defeat. Yet, Ning Cheng still chased after him. This meant that he wanted to kill him. No one spoke up for Ji Pingzhong at this time. Everyone could already see Ning Cheng's strength. In this place, there was no such thing as background. Even if one wanted to talk about a background, they would have to wait until they got out of this place. Ning Cheng now made it clear that he wanted to kill Ji Pingzhong. So who would want to stand up? What the hell do you want? Ji Pingzhong resisted the humiliation in his heart. He was ranked 4th among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. No matter where he went, he would always be the object of respect. But at this time, a rogue cultivator had forced him to such a point. If word got out that he, one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, was forced into a fight by a rogue cultivator, not to mention him, even his sect wouldn't have any face left. Although Ji Pingzhong felt angry, he remained calm in his heart. He could lose face, but he couldn't lose his life. He felt sure that as long as he fought with Ning Cheng, there was a 90% chance that he would follow in Guahauga's footsteps. He couldn't afford to gamble. He would kill this rogue cultivator in front of him, but not now. Instead, he would wait until he completed the spirit essence transformation. Chapter 909. Because of the cultivation method. The strength of any cultivator from a big sect would double after the spirit essence transformation. This was the difference between a big sect and an ordinary rogue cultivator. As for an ordinary rogue cultivator, after the spirit essence transformation, their strength would at most double. The strong would stay strong. These 4 words weren't without reason. Not only would they have more cultivation resources, but they would also transform their strength much faster. Don't tell me that when 2 people fight over a stone door, shouldn't they settle it by fighting? What do you think I want? Let's do it. If not for Ning Qing not wanting to bear the name of violating the rules of the Great Meat, he would have already started. Ji Pingzhong held back the anxiety in his heart and tried to calm his tone before speaking. Don't you know that this only works for the first 9 stone doors? Choosing the 10th stone door is equivalent to giving up on the fight. If you want to challenge my desolate spirit palace, then just say that I will accept your challenge. Ning Qing wasn't an idiot. Why would he challenge the desolate spirit palace? He could find an excuse to kill Ji Pingzhong, but he couldn't challenge the desolate spirit palace. I'm not in a good mood. I'll lend you 10 million spirit crystals. Seeing that he couldn't find an excuse to kill Ji Pingzhong, Ning Qing could only settle for the next best thing. 10 million divine crystals was a huge sum for ordinary rogue cultivators. But for Ji Pingzhong, he could still afford to fork out this amount of divine crystals. Ji Pingzhong didn't even think about it before taking out a storage bag and throwing it to Ning Qing. He had already lost face, so he didn't mind losing it again. Ning Qing put away the spirit crystals and ignored Ji Pingzhong. Yan Xishuang and Mu Shuifeng's battle was extremely fierce. Seeing Mu Shuifeng's attack, Ning Qing understood that Mu Shuifeng had also hidden his strength during the Great Meat. Boom! A loud explosion erupted between Lu Yixian and Aiden, and the 2 figures separated in an instant. At this moment, Aiden looked a little embarrassed, while Lu Yixian looked calm and composed. Although the 2 hadn't decided a winner, everyone could see that Lu Yixian had the upper hand. The celestial essence explosions from the 2's battle had also spread out, and everyone around could feel the powerful celestial essence shockwaves. But the space around them remained motionless. From this, one could see how stable the space here was. Not only was the space stable, but everything on this boulder was also extremely hard. Even the most powerful attack of an eternal cultivator couldn't damage it. You're very strong. It seems that I'd better go to the 2nd position. Even if the winner and loser hadn't been decided yet, Aiden didn't intend to continue entangling with Lu Yixian. Instead, he looked at Lu Yixian and smiled before walking towards Zhongming Yuxiu, who occupied the 2nd stone door. Lu Yixian understood that Aiden wasn't afraid of him, but afraid of Ji who killed Guohaoga. Seeing Aiden come over, Zhongming Yuxiu frowned and raised her hand to bring out her weapon. When it came to beauty, Zhongming Yuxiu was only slightly inferior to Yan Xishuang and much more beautiful than Yi Ning. Ning sect of Ning Si Ning Ning sect of sect master. Ning Cheng on the other hand thought about it a lot. If he fought against Zhongming Yuxiu, even if this woman's lightning from the good luck bead was more powerful, she wouldn't last long in his hands. She might even pose less of a threat to him than Guohaoga. This made Ning Qing feel a little fortunate. His spiritual roots had already been completed thanks to the mysterious yellow bead. Although he had complete spiritual roots, he could cultivate various spirit techniques even if it took a long time. As for Aiden's black smoke, Ning Qing still couldn't figure out what was going on. But he felt sure that Zhongming Yuxiu wasn't Aiden's opponent. Aiden and Zhongming Yuxiu had just started fighting when a blood mist sprayed out. Ning Qing saw Mu Shuifeng fly out upside down with a bloody hole in his chest. From the looks of it, Yan Xishuang had won. But Yan Xishuang's aura also looked a little sluggish, indicating that her victory wasn't simple. Yan Xishuang saw Ning Qing looking at her and nodded. Ning Cheng's strength had exceeded her expectations. In this place, having a powerful friend was a happy thing. Even if the other party didn't help you, just deterrence alone could deter your opponent from killing you. Ning Qing didn't go to watch the fight between Aiden and Zhongming Yuxiu. Instead, he walked to the first stone door and looked at Lu Yixian and Yi Ning, who still hadn't started fighting. He asked, "Who will fight me next?" Yining didn't answer, but her eyes showed a hint of hesitation. Ningcheng understood that Yining might have already decided to retreat. Although Lu Yixian and Aiden fought fiercely before, they didn't consume much of his strength. At this time, Yining didn't stand up. Instead, he took in a deep breath and stood opposite Ningcheng before speaking with a deep voice. "I take back what I said before because I underestimated you. You are a powerhouse, but if you want to occupy the first spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring, you will have to see if my copper lamp is willing." Lu Yixian's weapon was a one-horned copper lamp. It had a tall horn and looked a bit weird. This was the first time Ningcheng saw his weapon. But when he fought Aiden, Ningcheng had been fighting Guahauga. Therefore, he didn't know where the threat of Lu Yixian's copper lamp was. Ningcheng had just brought out his long spear when a majestic aura pressed down on him. It wasn't a domain, Ningcheng instantly understood. It was an artifact domain. It felt just like his incomplete spear domain. This was a domain formed by his opponent's weapon. Lu Yixian didn't reveal his own domain, but it wasn't that he didn't have a domain. Rather, he didn't stretch out his domain, which would give him absolute leeway in the fight. Once the two of them were evenly matched, he could stretch out his domain at any time to strengthen the binding effect. After Lu Yixian brought out his one-horned copper lamp, it only shrouded his head and activated a powerful artifact domain to protect his body. It didn't attack Ningcheng. But facing Ningcheng's spear, he took a step forward and punched out at the same time. Boom! Raging celestial essence wrapped around Lu Yixian's fist wind and slammed into Ningcheng's long spear. The celestial essence in the sky exploded and echoed across the entire boulder platform. The two retreated at the same time. Blood gushed up Ningcheng's throat, and Ningcheng almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, a trace of blood overflowed from the corner of Lu Yixian's mouth. This Lu Yixian really is strong. Ningcheng waved his hand, and the long spear floated above his head. He didn't continue to attack. He didn't use his full strength, nor did he use any spirit techniques. However, he knew that Lu Yixian also didn't use his full strength. "You're strong, but if this is all you've got, then you'd better stand back today." After saying that, Lu Yixian's killing intent soared once again. But he still didn't move the one-horned copper lamp. Instead, celestial essence wrapped around his blood-stained fist, creating crackling sounds from the friction with the air. Ningcheng showed a slight smile, took a step forward and punched out. Lu Yixian didn't use a weapon, and he also didn't know how to use a weapon. One had to know that a middle-rank spirit artifact like the long spear wasn't much stronger than a fist for him. Ningcheng's most powerful weapons right now were the 5-colored star splitter arrow and the 7 Bridges realm book. Lu Yixian dared to use his fist against his long spear. Wasn't it because he was a body-forging cultivator? He, Ningcheng, was also a body-forging cultivator. Ningcheng's fist swept through the violent celestial essence around him, and even the surrounding space seemed to have been swept away by it. Even time itself seemed to slow down in the gap between the punches. Ningcheng didn't hold back with this punch. Ningcheng didn't use any spirit techniques, but he had already touched upon the laws of time and the laws of space. Therefore, this punch contained some superficial knowledge of these two laws. You've got guts. Don't regret it later. Lu Yixian saw that Ningcheng dared to act as arrogant as him and directly used his fist against him. Wasn't this just courting death? Ningcheng's fist brought with it a majestic killing intent, but Lu Yixian didn't retreat. Instead, he also punched out. Lu Yixian's punch contained a spatial killing intent that didn't lose out to Ningcheng's punch. Moreover, the fist momentum tore through the air with incredible power. The two fists hadn't even collided yet, but the surrounding space had already turned chaotic. Everyone in the surroundings watched Ningcheng and Lu Yixian's fists collide in shock. They couldn't help feeling horrified in their hearts. The strength that the two of them had displayed was much stronger than theirs. The moment Ningcheng put away his spear and punched out, Lu Yixian knew that Ningcheng would die. He didn't hold back. He was a body-refining powerhouse, and his punch contained a spirit technique. Boom boom boom. The two fists slammed into each other, and a terrifying blast of celestial essence erupted, forcing the nearby cultivators to retreat quickly. Killing intent burst forth, and two of them even took out their own magic treasures. If not for the stable space here, the celestial essence explosion's shockwave would have torn through space. Yining, who was watching from the side, had a drastic change in expression. She had always thought that her cultivation was similar to Lu Yixian's. Even if she wasn't as strong as Lu Yixian, there was still a small gap between them. But when Lu Yixian and Ning Cheng's fists collided, she realized that Yining was still a level lower than Lu Yixian. Ka. The sound of bones breaking emerged, and Lu Yixian spat out a mouthful of blood as he flew backwards. Ning Cheng also took a few steps back before standing firm. Apparently, Ning Cheng had the upper hand in this exchange of fists. Ning Cheng felt a burst of pain from the bones in his hand, and he couldn't help but feel shocked. Lu Yixian's punch was truly powerful, and the killing intent contained within it had almost materialized. At this moment, Lu Yixian's fist had slightly drooped down. He looked at Ning Cheng in horror. Ning Cheng's punch had come with his own strength, without any spirit technique. His domain-splitting fist spirit technique had unexpectedly fallen into a disadvantage. Not only that, but his fist bones had also broken. This was the first time that his fist bones had broken in a punch from an opponent of the same level. With just one punch, he understood Ning Cheng's strength. Ning Cheng's punch didn't contain any spirit technique. But because it touched upon the laws of space and the laws of time, coupled with the fact that he was also a body-refining cultivator, this punch put him at a disadvantage. To be precise, he lost in terms of understanding the laws of time. When the other party's punch collided with his fist felt a little sluggish. It was a sign of time stagnation. Moreover, he hadn't even touched upon the laws of time. Lu Yixian took in a deep breath and looked at Ning Cheng with a calm voice. You've hidden yourself quite deeply. Not only can you instantly kill Guahaoge with your cultivation, but you're also a top-grade body-refining expert. You can even touch upon the laws of time. If you want to step aside, then step aside. If you don't, then keep fighting. Don't talk nonsense. Ning Cheng spoke with an indifferent tone. I can step aside, but I want to tell you one thing. If I bring out the single-horned copper lamp, even if you're a body-refining expert and touched upon the laws of time, you would still die here today. Do you believe it or not? Lu Yixian's tone was not only flat, but it also contained a hint of coldness. Ning Cheng opened his hand, and the spirit artifact spear fell into his grasp. He then spoke with an even more indifferent tone. I don't believe it. Also, I hate long-winded people the most. Take out your weird kerosene lamp. Don't let me down. Chapter 9-10. Although it was only two face-to-face confrontations, Ning Cheng could feel that Lu Yixian's strength was far stronger than the others. Most likely, he hadn't used his full strength when fighting Aiden. Although Lu Yixian was strong, he said that he could kill him with the single-horned copper lamp. Ning Cheng didn't take it seriously at all. Lu Yixian had a trump card, but did he not have one? If there weren't other people here, Lu Yixian wouldn't even need to do anything. He would have already brought out the first bridge of coping. He didn't believe that Lu Yixian could cross the first bridge of coping. If the two went all out, Ning Cheng felt that he had a 90% chance of killing Lu Yixian. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Lu Yixian's aura soared, and the surrounding celestial essence trembled once again. Ning Cheng didn't feel surprised. He had killed a few half-step Dao sculpting cultivators, so he didn't fear a full-circle eternal cultivator. Seeing Ning Cheng's calm expression, Lu Yixian frowned slightly. As his aura rose, the spear patterns around the spear in his hand slowly emerged. He felt like he was facing a majestic mountain. No matter how strong his waves were, no matter how high they rose, they couldn't break through the majestic mountain in front of him. This person was a formidable opponent, a powerhouse among powerhouses. Lu Yixian looked at the surrounding cultivators and suddenly converged his aura. He wasn't afraid of Ning Cheng, but he didn't dare to fight here. Ning Cheng's strength had far exceeded his expectations. He could defeat Ning Cheng, but he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't get injured. Not to mention others, just Yining and Aiden were a threat to him. Once he got seriously injured, he would most likely lose his life here. In his opinion, the life of a rogue cultivator like Ning Cheng wasn't as valuable as his own. It was just a spirit essence transformation, and the spirit spring in the second stone door was more than enough. Lu Yixian's imposing aura converged, and his face also eased up a bit. He slowly put away the horned copper lamp, looked at Ning Cheng, and spoke one word at a time. Today you're in luck. I'll let you have the first spring, but you won't be so lucky next time. If one day you manage to escape from Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon, remember not to meet me, because I will kill you. Ning Cheng waved his hand, and the spear disappeared without a trace. He looked at Lu Yixian speechlessly and said with a helpless tone, "Don't you want to die?" Lu Yixian showed a slight frown. He didn't understand the meaning of Ning Cheng's words. He simply ignored Ning Cheng and walked towards the second stone door. This was the difference between him and Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng swapped places with him, as long as Ning Cheng felt that he could kill the other party, he would never give up the first spirit spring. Ning Cheng risked his life to come to the extraterritorial spirit spring for only one purpose, and that was to perfectly transform his spirit essence. Lu Yixian's cautiousness allowed him to protect himself many times, but at the same time, it also caused him to lose many precious things. At the second stone gate, Aiden and Zhongming Yuxiu were fighting fiercely. Although Zhongming Yuxiu's elemental lightning jewel was powerful, it still couldn't lock down Aiden's black smoke. Lu Yixian had just walked over when Zhongming Yuxiu was wrapped up by Aiden's black smoke and blasted several dozen feet away. Zhongming Yuxiu grabbed the two thunder beads in a somewhat embarrassed manner, and no longer stepped forward to fight with Aiden. Aiden, who had just blasted Zhongming Yuxiu away, saw Lu Yixian coming over, and showed a self-deprecating smile. Alas, if I had known it would turn out like this, I would have chosen the third stone gate first. It took me so much effort. Fortunately, it's not too late. After saying that, he left the second stone gate he had just snatched and walked to the third stone gate. After seeing Lu Yixian's true strength, Aiden didn't want to fight Lu Yixian head-on. He could tell that Lu Yixian hadn't used his full strength when fighting him. Yining cupped her fists towards Ning Cheng. "Pill Emperor Ji, I'm not your opponent. If you don't mind, I'd like to change to another stone gate." Ning Cheng smiled and spoke, "Many thanks, please do as you wish." If he could avoid fighting, Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't want to fight a meaningless fight. Yining nodded, and her gaze swept past Lu Yixian, who occupied the second stone gate, before landing on Aiden, who occupied the third stone gate. However, she quickly glanced past Aiden and fixed her gaze on the fourth stone gate. Yan Xishuang frowned slightly. She had just defeated Mu Shuifeng and had yet to recover from her serious injuries. If Yining came to fight her at this time, she would have no choice but to admit defeat. Without waiting for Yining to speak, Zhongming Yuxiu suddenly walked up to Yan Xishuang. "I want the fourth stone gate." Yan Xishuang sighed. If she weren't injured, she wouldn't have feared Zhongming Yuxiu. But now that she was injured, she definitely wouldn't be Zhongming Yuxiu's opponent. Just when Yan Xishuang was about to admit defeat and change to another stone gate, Ning Cheng suddenly spoke up. "The fourth stone gate belongs to my friend. If you want it, don't blame me for snatching it back." Zhongming Yuxiu's face turned pale with anger when she heard Ning Cheng's words. She originally wanted the second stone gate, but now she couldn't even get the fourth stone gate. This made her feel extremely sullen and unhappy. Fortunately, she wasn't stupid. Since Ning Cheng could make Lu Yixian willingly give up the first stone gate, it meant that she, Zhongming Yuxiu, couldn't compete with him. She could also see that Ning Cheng was a ruthless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have killed Guokaiga. If this rogue cultivator could kill Guokaiga, then he could also kill her, Zhongming Yuxiu. One had to know that in terms of fame, the River Luo sacred sect, where Guokaiga came from, was much more powerful than her sect, the Sunken Fish Palace. Forcibly suppressing this hatred and grievance in her heart, Zhongming Yuxiu was just about to walk to the fifth stone gate, when she saw Yining land in front of the fifth stone gate, and speak with a calm tone. "I want this stone gate." Zhongming Yuxiu feared Lu Yixian and couldn't beat Aiden. She also didn't dare to fight against Ning Cheng. But if Yining wanted to stand on top of her head, she could only dream about it. This time, Zhongming Yuxiu didn't even bother to speak. She directly brought out a pair of Thunderlight Rui beads and shot them towards Yining. Yining understood Zhongming Yuxiu's temperament, and immediately brought out the golden book in her hand. If it weren't for Ning Cheng, she would have driven Yan Xishuang away. But now that Yin Xishuang had Ning Cheng's protection, she could only snatch the 5th stone gate. The Golden Book's 10,000 golden lights and Zhongming Yuxiu's lightning arcs clashed, and the Golden Book's killing lights and lightning arcs splashed everywhere. Although Zhongming Yuxiu had high ambitions, her strength was far inferior to her. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, Yining completely suppressed her, and the lightning arcs could no longer rush out of Yining's Golden Book. After a dozen breaths, Zhongming Yuxiu's 2 thunder light rui beads exploded for the second time. At the same time, Zhongming Yuxiu's 2 thunder light rui beads also flew out. Coughing up a mouthful of blood in the air, Zhongming Yuxiu's aura had already weakened. After a few defeats in a row, she finally understood where she stood. She didn't continue to fight with Yining for the 5th stone gate. She didn't even try to snatch the 6th and 7th stone gates. Instead, she obediently walked to the 8th stone gate. The 7th stone gate was occupied by the injured Mu Shuifeng, and Zhongming Yuxiu was also injured. But for her, the difference between the 7th and 8th stone gates wasn't much. No one spoke much. They all felt sure that if Ningqing hadn't killed Guohauge, Zhongming Yuxiu would have only occupied the 10th stone gate. The 10th stone gate was occupied by Ji Pingzhong. Initially, he wanted to wait until he transformed his spirit essence before killing Ningqing. But after seeing the battle between Ningqing and Lu Yixian, he temporarily dispelled this idea. Even if he transformed his spirit essence, he wouldn't be able to beat Lu Yixian without transforming his spirit essence. As for Ningqing, he could now snatch Lu Yixian's position. Regardless of whether Lu Yixian was Ningqing's opponent or not, the fact that he gave up his position showed that he feared Ningqing. If Lu Yixian feared Ningqing, then Ji Pingzhong's cultivation couldn't suppress Ningqing. It would be impossible for him to take revenge. Yin Xishuang breathed in a sigh of relief and nodded at Ningqing to show her gratitude. The 9 revolving sacred Daopan's disciple Xue Yu, who hadn't participated in any fights and hadn't formed any grudges with anyone, took the initiative to stand up and speak up. Everyone has chosen their stone gate. Now that everyone has chosen their stone gate, please imprint your qualification card into the groove of the stone gate. Senior Apprentice Brother Ji, I'll have to trouble you with the groove of the 9th stone gate. As a disciple of the 9 revolving sacred Daopan, she didn't put a rogue cultivator like Ningqing in her eyes. But Ningqing had easily killed Guohauge and forced back Lu Yixian, the first ranked of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. With such strength, she had to respect him as a senior apprentice brother. Everyone took out their qualification cards and imprinted them into the grooves. Ningqing took out his identity card and imprinted it into the groove of the 1st stone gate. He then took out Guohauge's identity card and imprinted it into the groove of the 9th stone gate. As the 10 identity cards imprinted into the grooves at the same time, the 10 stone gates made a squeak sound before slowly opening. The rich aura of the spirit spring washed over them, and almost everyone took in a comfortable breath. Even the injured people felt their injuries improving at this moment. After the 10 qualification cards fell, Ningqing put away the qualification card of the 1st stone gate and entered the stone gate. After Ningqing entered the stone gate outside slowly closed again. The stone platform, which had been the scene of a fierce battle a moment ago, turned cold after everyone left. The extremely rich spirit essence aura spread out, and Ningqing even wanted to cultivate to the late-stage eternal realm in this place. A staircase inclined upwards appeared in front of Ningqing. Ningqing stretched out his spiritual consciousness, but the dense spirit essence aura immediately covered it up. This spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate too far. It didn't seem to be because of a spiritual consciousness restriction, but because the spirit essence aura was too rich, which caused his spiritual consciousness to fall into the chaos of the spirit essence aura. Ningqing walked up the stairs step by step, and with each step he took, he could feel the spirit essence aura growing denser. As Ningqing climbed up, the surrounding spirit essence aura turned into a fine mist that submerged Ningqing. Ningqing felt as if he was standing alone in the clouds. This kind of comfort was truly indescribable. Coming to this extraterritorial spirit spring, he had made the right choice. The greater the effort, the greater the return. Once he got out of this place, he would undergo a transformation. Chapter 9:11. Immersed in this pleasant feeling, Ningqing didn't even know how many steps he had crossed. When he came to a stop, a pond with a circumference of less than 3 meters appeared in front of him. It looked like a hot spring, with water vapor curling up from the pool. An extremely rich spirit essence aura filled the air, pure and fresh, with a hint of Dao charm aura that made it easier for people to comprehend. In the middle of the spring, there was a lotus-like platform. This platform floated above the spring and condensed the essence of the entire spring. Was this the premier spirit spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring? Ningqing looked at the pool in surprise. He could feel the endless spirit essence and spiritual qi in the pool. What a great place, Ningqing thought in his heart. But he didn't immediately rush to the lotus platform to cultivate. Instead, he swept out with his spiritual consciousness again. Around his spiritual consciousness, it felt like there was nothing but a void. There were no obstacles and there was no end. The only feeling he had was that he was in a spring in the void. There was no trace of the source or the location of this spring. Although he didn't feel any dangerous aura, Ningqing began to arrange defensive arrays around the spirit spring. Once he entered a deep seclusion, this kind of defense was necessary. A day later, Ningqing landed on the lotus platform in the middle of the premier spirit spring in the extraterritorial spirit spring. He had just landed on it and hadn't even started cultivating, but he already had the illusion that his cultivation was improving. Ningqing took a deep breath, calmed himself down, and started operating the mysterious yellow formless on the lotus platform. The rich aura of the spirit spring and the pure spirit qi formed a spiral-shaped vortex above the spring, which completely enveloped Ningqing. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, Ningqing entered a state of cultivation. At this moment, apart from the ripples created by the punches, there was no other movement in the spring. If someone were watching from the side, they would feel Ningqing's cultivation rising. Time flew by, and the sun and moon shuttled by. In a blink of an eye, more than a year had passed since the Grand Essence Great Meet, and the Grand Essence domain had already returned to its normal state. The Star-Stepping Tower's master, who had clashed with barbarian dragon clan's Dragon Emperor Man Huishan in the Heaven Essence public square, never appeared again after obtaining the 10 bottles of mysterious medicinal pills. However, the Star-Stepping Tower remained the premier rest stop in Heaven Essence Sacred City, and the barbarian dragon clan's Dragon Emperor didn't continue to find trouble with the Star-Stepping Tower. Man Huishan also didn't return to the Grand Essence Sea, but chose to stay in the Grand Essence ruins. It wasn't until recently, when Man Huishan grabbed lifeless poison hand Oyendu and left the Grand Essence ruins, that some news started to spread. It turned out that the mission to capture lifeless poison hand and heartless monk was issued by the Grand Essence Sea's barbarian dragon clan. The reason for issuing this task was because lifeless poison hand and heartless monk had stolen a Dao fruit tree from the Grand Essence Sea's barbarian dragon clan. However, a rogue cultivator named Ningqing bought this Dao fruit tree, but Ningqing ended up falling victim to lifeless poison hand and heartless monk's plot against him while he was in seclusion in the Grand Essence Ruins cave. Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon, in order to take back this Dao fruit tree, issued this task to find the location of the Dao fruit tree left behind by Ningqing after his fall. Rumors had it that after lifeless poison hand died in the Grand Essence Sea, something changed. That is, Ningqing didn't die. When heartless monk and lifeless poison hand joined forces to attack Ningqing's cave, it wasn't only for the Dao fruit tree, but also for a treasure better than the Dao fruit tree. It's just that the rogue cultivator named Ningqing was very cunning and managed to escape the two's pursuit with the help of a cicada shedding its carapace. When these rumors reached Man Huishan's ears, Man Huishan almost wanted to kill everyone in the Grand Essence ruins. He wanted to capture Ningqing for the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Only a few people knew about it, but now the whole world knew about it. He guessed that this rumor didn't come from the barbarian dragon clan, but from the heartless monk. After the heartless monk learned that lifeless poison hand had been captured and even lost his life, he wanted to take himself out of this matter. Therefore, the best way was to push everything onto Ningqing. In the Grand Essence Ruins Mission Trading Hall, a woman in blue robes with long hair tied up into a starry sky female cultivator bun walked in. She walked directly to the mission window for the demonic beast's inner core, took out a jade box and a silver mission card, and handed them in. She then spoke with a very simple tone. Hand in the mission, ice-cold silver rhino's inner core. Okay, please wait a moment. The female cultivator at the mission window spoke with a soft voice with a smile. The blue-robed female cultivator nodded and didn't speak again. It seemed that she was calm and unperturbed by anything. However, the conversation between several rogue cultivators not far away made her a little excited. A treasure that can catch the attention of the Dragon Emperor should be a peerless treasure, right? Otherwise, why would the Dragon Emperor investigate that rogue cultivator named Ningcheng? Not necessarily. The Dragon Emperor most likely came for the Dao fruit tree. Ningcheng is just a rogue cultivator, yet he dared to buy the Heartless Monk's Dao fruit tree. It shows that he has some courage. What's wrong with a rogue cultivator? Ningcheng could escape unscathed under the joint sneak attack of Lifeless Poison Hand and the Heartless Monk. It shows that he's not an ordinary rogue cultivator. Nonsense. Can an ordinary rogue cultivator afford to buy a Dao fruit tree? Can they afford to buy a spiritual consciousness cultivation method? Can they find so much lost soil? The female cultivator at the mission window handed back the blue-robed female cultivator's silver card and said, I've already handed over the mission for you. It's a total of 3,200 points. You can check it. Thank you. The blue-robed female cultivator grabbed the silver card and hurriedly thanked her before turning around and leaving. It seemed that she didn't care about the points she had worked hard to earn for more than a month. Senior apprentice brothers, I'm sorry to bother you. The blue-robed female cultivator walked up to the several cultivators talking and cupped her fists. I just heard you say that the Dragon Emperor captured Lifeless Poison Hand, right? The few cultivators who were in the middle of their discussion immediately stopped. They were just casually discussing, and generally, no one who didn't know them would interrupt them. Now that someone asked about the Dragon Emperor, they immediately turned cautious. However, the few of them saw that the blue-robed female cultivator had a pretty face and a warm smile on her face. Moreover, her cultivation hadn't reached the eternal realm. Therefore, they immediately let down their guard. A long-haired male cultivator nodded and said, That's right. The Dragon Emperor did capture Lifeless Poison Hand. The Dragon Emperor did a good deed for us rogue cultivators. You should have just returned from the Grand Essence ruins. This matter should have already spread. Although answering the blue-robed female cultivator's words, he still subconsciously flattered the Dragon Emperor. He even said that they weren't the only ones talking about this matter. The blue-robed female cultivator spoke up in annoyance. Alas, I was planning to look for Lifeless Poison Hand's whereabouts and earn some points. Another thin male cultivator chuckled. Junior apprentice sister, your cultivation is a bit too low. I suggest that you don't think about earning points like this. You might as well team up with us and go to the Grand Essence ruins to complete the mission. The other cultivators laughed. The blue-robed female cultivator didn't care about it and continued. I heard that Ningcheng is a rogue cultivator. But he's not simple. He could escape from Lifeless Poison Hand and the Heartless Monk's plot. Would he dare to buy the Heartless Monk's Dao fruit tree? Would the Dragon Emperor not be able to find any trace of him? The blue-robed female cultivator felt slightly relieved but said, If it were me, I would have already fled to the depths of the Grand Essence ruins. The thin male cultivator spoke up. That's not necessarily true. If the Dragon Emperor remembers you, you won't be able to survive at the edge of the Grand Essence ruins. If you go to the depths of the Grand Essence ruins, a rogue cultivator would only be courting death. I heard that the Dragon Emperor went to the Heaven Essence Sacred City a year ago during the Grand Essence Great Meet. I wonder if it was because Ningcheng was in the Heaven Essence Sacred City. The long-haired male cultivator shook his head. I also know about that matter. How could the Dragon Emperor make a special trip for a rogue cultivator? I heard that he went to investigate a pill emperor named Jihe. That pill emperor had something to do with the fall of the Ninth Prince. By the way, that pill emperor is also a rogue cultivator. So that's how it is. Thank you, senior apprentice brothers. This little sister will be taking her leave. The blue-robed female cultivator thanked them before leaving. This blue-robed female cultivator was Yan Ji. After learning about Ningcheng's fall, She had been frantically completing missions in the Grand Essence ruins to earn points, and exchange them for cultivation resources. It's just that no matter how high her qualifications were, she couldn't increase her cultivation speed by doing missions for points while cultivating. Even after a year, her cultivation hadn't improved by much. But now that Yanji suddenly heard that Ningcheng hadn't died, and might have gone to the Grand Essence domain, she immediately gave up her original plan, and decided to go to the Grand Essence domain to look for him. With her qualifications, it shouldn't be a problem for her to find a sect to join and then enter the Grand Essence domain. The ripples in the spirit spring under Ningcheng finally calmed down, and the whirlpool around Ningcheng's body also dissipated. Ningcheng opened his eyes and his heart filled with joy. After advancing to the Eternal Realm, his cultivation speed had plummeted. But this time, when he came to the extraterritorial spirit spring, he once again found the feeling of his cultivation soaring. Even if his demand for spirit essence spiritual chi was a bottomless pit, there was enough spirit essence spiritual chi here to fill this bottomless pit. While he was cultivating, every single pore on his body was absorbing the surrounding divine essence spiritual chi. Ningcheng didn't rush to transform the spirit essence. Instead, he wanted to improve his cultivation first. With such a terrifying cultivation speed here, he decided to cultivate to the full circle of the Eternal Realm before starting to transform the spirit essence. But Ningcheng didn't feel disappointed. The cultivation speed here even exceeded his expectations. In just 1 year, he advanced from the middle stage Eternal Realm to the late stage Eternal Realm. Moreover, his sea of consciousness had also greatly improved. Moreover, this was without using the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill. Looking at the spring that hadn't changed much, Ningcheng decided to use the method of combining the consciousness transmutation pill. Since his cultivation had improved, his spiritual consciousness also needed to improve by leaps and bounds. When he swallowed the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill and started cultivating again, he was pleasantly surprised to find that his sea of consciousness had also expanded along with his cultivation. Previously, when his cultivation improved, his sea of consciousness also improved. But it wasn't this obvious and direct. But this time, with the help of the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, his cultivation and spiritual consciousness improved almost simultaneously. Chapter 9:12. Once one's cultivation reached the late-stage Eternal Realm, no matter who it was, the improvement of their strength would become extremely slow. However, the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method coupled with the first spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring allowed Ningcheng's cultivation to soar. By the 3rd year after Ningcheng entered the extraterritorial spirit spring, his strength had already reached the full circle of the Eternal Realm. Over the past 3 years, several people had come out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, including Ji Pingzhong. As soon as Ji Pingzhong came out, everyone outside knew about Ji He's fierceness. Ji He not only occupied the first spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring, but also killed River Luo sacred sect's Guahauga. Although it was normal for disciples to die in the battle for the extraterritorial spirit spring stone gate, but a rogue cultivator dared to kill River Luo sacred sect's sacred son, which made River Luo sacred sect furious. Not only that, but even the other sects with disciples who entered the extraterritorial spirit spring felt very unhappy. Everyone knew that the best place to convert spirit essence in the extraterritorial spirit spring was the first spring. But now that a rogue cultivator ruined the first spring, no one felt comfortable about it. Although none of the sects came out to say anything, everyone knew that these sects had sent experts to guard the transmission array outside the immortal spring. As soon as that Ji He came out, he would most likely disappear inexplicably. In contrast, Barbarian Dragon Clan's Dragon Emperor Man Huishan was the most worried about Ji He. Man Huishan wanted to take away Ji He, which wasn't a secret a few years ago. The reason was simple. That is, Ji He was most likely the murderer who killed his son, Man Jioran. If this had happened 3 years ago, Man Huishan wouldn't have cared. At most, he would have discussed with other sects to take away Ji He or kill Ji He in front of him. After he found out that Ningcheng had killed Beyond Heaven Path's Jing Wuya and formed a grudge with Beyond Heaven Path, Man Huishan caught Beyond Heaven Path's Fei Air, and obtained the battle crystal ball that showed Ningqing killing Jing Wuya. It was the same spear weapon, the same spear patterns, and the familiar fighting style reminded him of the fake Jihe from the Grand Essence Great Meat. This Jihe impersonator was also a cultivator who appeared out of nowhere. He had a long spear as a magical treasure, and his spear patterns were able to subdue his enemies. Later he caught Lifeless Poison Hand and found out that Ningqing had not fallen, but had escaped. Even if Man Huishan was an idiot, he knew that the fellow who impersonated Jihe had something to do with Ningqing. If Jihe turned out to be Ningqing, then everything would become clear. Ningji was a fake, so why did he dare to kill 2 half-step Dao sculpting cultivators? How could Ningqing, a puny eternal cultivator, kill 2 half-step Dao sculpting cultivators? He knew that his son had a half-step Dao modeling subordinate when he entered the mystic realm. The only explanation was that Ningqing truly had the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Jihe had to say that Ning not only failed, but Ning had killed, but clan Jihe Ning, but also killed. King that King sect master, realm star Tian not only failed family, king that instead died Cheng, but world king who killed. Man Huishan even suspected that Qi Shixingsing was an accomplice. However, Qi Shixingsing's background was too big. Therefore, he didn't want to go to the profound moon spirit gate without concrete evidence. Man Huishan even suspected that Qi Shixingsing was an accomplice. However, Qi Shixingsing's background was too big. Therefore, he didn't want to go to the profound moon spirit gate without any concrete evidence. Once the news about the star splitter arrow leaked out, it would change the situation. All the powerhouses would gather to snatch it. At that time, when Dao fusion powerhouses took action, Man Huishan wouldn't have any advantage. Ningqing, who was still in the first spring, naturally didn't know that more and more people were unhappy with him, and more people were waiting for him outside. After advancing to the full circle of the eternal realm, he began to transform the spirit essence. It was very easy to convert the spirit essence here. As celestial essence aura transformed into spirit essence aura, Ningqing felt more powerful than ever. The gurgling celestial essence turned into surging spirit essence. His sea of consciousness was like a boundless starry sky, supporting the celestial essence to transform into spirit essence. The spirit essence and spiritual qi of the extraterritorial first spring rushed into Ningqing like a raging river. At the bottom of the spirit spring, new spirit essence and spiritual qi kept gushing out. Ningqing was like a bottomless pit, absorbing the spirit spring's essence energy. Moreover, the spirit spring also acted like an inexhaustible rice granary, continuously providing spirit essence and spiritual qi to Ningqing. His strength rose again, and as time passed, more and more celestial essence transformed. At this time, Ningqing unexpectedly felt that his cultivation had started to drop. He thought it was an illusion. But after carefully feeling the spirit essence flowing through his meridians and Zifu, Ningqing felt sure that his cultivation had indeed dropped along with the spirit essence transformation. Although his cultivation had dropped, his strength had risen exponentially. Ningqing had never thought of such a situation. With his cultivation dropping, his strength would naturally decline. Although his cultivation had dropped, his strength had risen along with the spirit essence transformation. Ningqing subconsciously slowed down the speed of his spirit essence transformation, and the mysterious yellow formless also started operating it carefully. Soon, Ningqing understood the reason. His spirit essence was compressing. In other words, as his celestial essence transformed into spirit essence, the spirit essence power within it also started to compress. It was as if he had compressed the contents of a bucket into half of a bucket. If he wanted to fill the bucket, he would have to keep putting in new things. Amazing, Ningqing thought as he sucked in a breath of cold air. This was definitely one of the heaven-defying aspects of the mysterious yellow formless. The starry sky essence qi or the eternal pill that he had absorbed before was not the purest. Once he encountered the purer spirit spring's essence energy, his strength would start to go through the mud. This led to the decline in cultivation and the rise in strength. After understanding this, Ningqing began to consciously compress his spirit essence. This was the advantage and disadvantage of not having a master and not having a sect. If he had a master in the sect, No one would have done such a crazy thing. Compressing spirit essence. Was this something that could be done? A slight instability would lead to the collapse of the corporeal body and the explosion of one sea of consciousness. However, this did not affect Ningcheng at all. The mysterious yellow formless cultivation method was formless, and the powerful spirit essence cultivation was not only stored in the meridians and dantian. It also followed the cultivator's Tao charm, contained between heaven and earth, and formed a resonance with the power between heaven and earth. Cultivators who cultivated the mysterious yellow formless, in addition to mobilizing their own power, could even mobilize the power between heaven and earth at any time. As for exploding one sea of consciousness, Ningcheng's worries were even more groundless. His sea of consciousness was a starry sky sea of consciousness. Before the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, it had been like a starry sky. But now, with the help of the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, his starry sky sea of consciousness had become even more vast. The many powerhouses waiting at the extraterritorial spirit springs teleportation array felt a little impatient. It was already the 5th year since the extraterritorial spirit spring opened. Among the disciples who entered the extraterritorial spirit spring, except for Ji He and the recently killed Guokaiga, all had come out. According to the characteristics of the extraterritorial spirit spring, no one could stay inside for 5 years. That's because no one needed 5 years to transform spirit essence in the extraterritorial spirit spring. In the extraterritorial spirit spring, once the celestial essence completely transformed into spirit essence, or the spirit spring inside the stone door ran out, one would be directly transmitted out. As for Ji He, even though it had been more than 5 years, there was no sign of him coming out. Kacha, the lotus-shaped stone platform under Ningcheng, unexpectedly gave out a slight cracking sound. Ningcheng was startled. He opened his eyes, only to find that the essence chi of the spirit spring around him had disappeared without a trace. The spring pool under him had also turned into a dry stone pool, without a trace of the spirit spring's essence chi overflowing. Ningcheng stood up in amazement. He had unexpectedly destroyed the first spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring. Not only did the spirit spring's essence chi disappear, but even the lotus-shaped stone platform had cracks on it. Sensing his own cultivation, Ningcheng felt very satisfied. Ningcheng's cultivation had declined during the process of transforming his spirit essence. But as he continued to compress his spirit essence, coupled with the endless spirit chi from the spirit spring, his cultivation once again reached the full circle of the eternal realm, and completely transformed his cultivation into spirit essence. This majestic and powerful feeling made Ningcheng want to find someone to fight immediately. No, I've been here for 6 years. According to the extraterritorial spirit spring, I can't stay here for more than 5 years. What's going on with him? Ningcheng had just thought of this when a powerful force wrapped around him. Not good, I'm about to be teleported out. Ningcheng didn't even think about it. His spirit essence surged and broke free from the force wrapping around him in an instant. Then he directly entered the mysterious yellow bead. The extraterritorial spirit spring's laws were extremely high. Even if he entered the true spirit world, he couldn't escape the fate of being teleported out. The mysterious yellow bead obviously didn't suffer from the suppression of the extraterritorial spirit spring's laws. As soon as Ningcheng entered the mysterious yellow bead, the teleportation suppression disappeared without a trace. Inside the mysterious yellow bead, Ningcheng breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. Otherwise, if he got teleported out, not even his dregs would remain. He didn't think that man Huishan would forget him. Even the River Luo sacred sect might secretly plot against him. As early as when he killed Guohauga, Ningcheng had already decided not to go out from the original exit. He believed in a saying on earth, that is, all roads lead to Rome. No matter where the extraterritorial spirit spring was, or how it came to be, there must be another way in, and there must be another way out. After entering the mysterious yellow bead, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept out. To Ningcheng's surprise, the dried-up spirit spring pool outside also began to crack, and the lotus stone platform he had sat on for 6 years completely shattered. The mysterious yellow bead, along with the gravel, fell to the bottom of the cracked spirit spring. The bottom of the spirit spring split open again, and a vast and boundless void aura emerged. Ningqing immediately understood that he was in the void at this time. Bursts of rumbling sounds surrounded Ningqing's spiritual consciousness, but Ningqing felt at ease. He vaguely guessed what was going on. The extraterritorial spirit spring had collapsed because of his refinement. He had cultivated in the extraterritorial spirit spring for 6 years, which was probably more terrifying than others who cultivated for 6,000 years. Ningqing's guess was right. The extraterritorial spirit spring was indeed something he cultivated in. The extraterritorial spirit spring was originally something that existed between heaven and earth, but it was later rearranged by a powerhouse. Every time the extraterritorial spirit spring absorbed a certain amount of the spirit spring's aura, after another 3,000 years, the extraterritorial spirit spring would once again bring in new spirit spring essence chi from the vast void. In fact, the later 9 springs of the extraterritorial spirit spring depended on the first spring for survival. If the first spring disappeared, the later 9 springs would also disappear at the same time. Ningqing had even absorbed the essence chi supporting the extraterritorial spirit spring, which was tantamount to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. It would be strange if the extraterritorial spirit spring didn't disappear. One could say that Ningqing had done something that the entire grand essence domain abhorred. Chapter 913. The broken fragments of the divine spring disappeared without a trace after being swept into the void. The mysterious yellow bead, along with these fragments, also scattered in the vast and endless void. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept out, and after seeing the void all around him, he directly came out of the mysterious yellow bead. Sure enough, after coming out, Ningqing no longer felt any teleportation force. It seemed that he had really fallen into the void along with the destruction of the extraterritorial divine spring. There were no coordinates or directions here. There was only the vast and boundless void and the occasional meteors that streaked past him. Ningqing was just thinking about whether he was in bright void or dark void, when a void airship suddenly flew past the edge of his spiritual consciousness. Ningqing quickly brought out the starry sky wheel and followed. After bringing out the starry sky wheel, to Ningqing's surprise, a clear positional map appeared on the astrolabe coordinates of the starry sky wheel. This huge surprise made Ningqing feel as if he had won the lottery. After refining the starry sky wheel, the starry sky wheel now had the approximate coordinates of the 4 grand starry skies. He didn't expect that after leaving the 4 grand starry skies, the starry sky wheel in the void outside the grand essence realm would also have starry sky coordinates. This starry sky wheel truly wasn't an object from one of the 4 grand starry skies. Therefore, it definitely had an extraordinary origin. Ningqing's gaze fell on the starry sky position coordinates of the starry sky wheel, and did not continue to chase after the flight-type weapon in front of him. The starry sky wheel marked the location of the grand essence realm, which seemed to be very far away from his current location. At the same time, the starry sky wheel also marked some uninhabited dead planets, as well as some large tectonic plates without life. In the left corner of the starry sky wheel's astrolabe, a particularly eye-catching gray area marked as the land of broken laws within the void. Ningqing naturally knew about the land of broken laws. This was a place where the laws of heaven and earth of the universe were broken. In a place without any laws of heaven and earth, one naturally couldn't use any laws of heaven and earth, nor could they use any spells. Even a flying magic treasure would not be able to fly in such a place. Even cultivators found it extremely difficult to survive in such a place. There were no laws, no yuan qi. Ningqing shook his head. He naturally wouldn't go to the land of broken laws. At this moment, his appearance had completely recovered. He decided to change his appearance again, and return to the Grand Essence ruins to have a look. If he couldn't find any news about Yanji, he would stay in the Grand Essence ruins to study array formations. Maybe one day, he could restore the Grand Essence's teleportation array to Night Essence Celestial River's Thorntooth Lake. Just when Ningqing was about to adjust the direction of the starry sky wheel, a familiar sense of crisis suddenly appeared in his consciousness. Ningqing was very familiar with this kind of crisis. He had experienced it once during the Grand Essence Great Meet. Later, He confirmed that he wasn't wrong. Man Huishan really found the Heaven Essence Sacred City's Great Meat Public Square. If he hadn't used 10 bottles of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills to trade with the Star-Stepping Tower Master, he would have already become a ghost under Man Huishan's hands. Ning Cheng's celestial essence completely transformed into spirit essence, and his strength soared. Even against a Dao sculpting cultivator, Ning Cheng was confident that he could put up a fight. Even if he couldn't win, he could easily escape. But against Man Huishan, Ning Cheng didn't even think about fighting. Even if his strength increased by 100 times, he probably wouldn't even stand a chance against Man Huishan's pinch. He was just an eternal starry sky emperor. Facing a second-step Dao confirming sage like Man Huishan, he had no chance to fight back. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and decided not to go to the Grand Essence ruins for now. Just as his gaze swept away from the Starry Sky Wheel's astrolabe, a bright spot suddenly appeared in a corner of the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Cheng felt sure that he hadn't seen this bright spot before when he looked at the Starry Sky Wheel. But at this moment, a bright spot inexplicably appeared. Moreover, this bright spot was getting closer and closer to him. Someone was chasing after him. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Then he quickly drove the Starry Sky Wheel with all his might. The Starry Sky Wheel, which had remained stagnant in the void, immediately cut through the void and disappeared. Ning Cheng suspected that the person chasing after him was Man Huishan. He also didn't understand how Man Huishan could find his position. Sure enough, after Ning Cheng drove the Starry Sky Wheel to change directions, the bright spot behind him quickly changed directions and approached the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Cheng crazily stimulated his spirit essence and drove the Starry Sky Wheel with all his might. But even so, the bright spot behind him seemed to be closing in on him. Ning Cheng's heart sank. According to this speed, perhaps in less than half a month, the bright spot would catch up to him. Chasing Bull, ignore the spirit crystals and control the Starry Sky Wheel to escape to the land of broken laws. Ning Cheng immediately called out Chasing Bull to take control of the Starry Sky Wheel. The land of broken laws restricted law-related spirit techniques and powerful techniques. The higher one's cultivation, the greater the restrictions. If Man Huishan truly chased after him, then this place, which restricted law-related spirit techniques, would be more beneficial to Ning Cheng. What about Master? Chasing Bull saw Ning Cheng's expression and understood that things had gotten a bit urgent. In such an emergency, Master actually wanted it to control the Starry Sky Wheel. Doesn't the Master know that the lower one's cultivation, the slower the speed of controlling the Starry Sky Wheel? I have something to do. Ning Cheng left a few words to Chasing Bull before entering the true spirit world. Ning Cheng truly had something to do. He wanted to complete the top-grade Starry Sky battleship that Old Man Kong he couldn't complete. This top-grade Starry Sky battleship was basically completed. For Ning Cheng, it would only take 2 or 3 days to finish the finishing touches. At this moment, Ning Cheng really wanted to thank Old Man Xing Xing. If it weren't for that old man letting him enter the cabin to study for a while, he wouldn't have been able to deal with this high-tech Starry Sky battleship. When it came to technology, if you understood it, then you understood it. If you didn't, then you didn't. There was no such thing as an epiphany. In just 2 days, Ning Cheng completed the top-grade Starry Sky battleship. After completing the top-grade Starry Sky battleship, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. The land of broken laws didn't allow any flight-type weapons or flight-type techniques. It rejected all fluctuations formed by laws, but it didn't affect technological products. After entering the land of broken laws, he changed his flight-type weapon to a top-grade Starry Sky battleship. He didn't believe that a Dao Essence powerhouse like Man Huishan would use low-level technological products. When Ning Cheng walked out, the bright spot on the astrolabe grew brighter and brighter. Leave the rest to me. You add spirit crystals to the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Cheng called out a storage ring and gave it to Chasing Bull before taking over control of the Starry Sky Wheel. Under Ning Cheng's control, the Starry Sky Wheel's speed more than doubled. As the distance between it and the pursuer shortened, it slowed down once again. Chasing Bull, on the other hand, added spirit crystals to the Starry Sky Wheel, which also increased the speed of the Starry Sky Wheel. Ning Cheng guessed correctly. Man Huishan was the one chasing after him. The reason why Man Huishan appeared here was because he had a certain understanding of the extraterritorial spirit spring. When that powerhouse arranged the extraterritorial spirit spring's array formation, Barbarian Dragon Clan's Mansuatian had a vague understanding of it. Mansuatian didn't know about the second entrance to the extraterritorial spirit spring, but he knew the approximate location of the void where the extraterritorial spirit spring was located. After Mansuatian reached Dao unification, he would naturally inform Man Huishan about such an important location. Man Huishan waited at the extraterritorial spirit spring's teleportation array for more than 4 years. After not seeing Ningcheng, he handed over the task of waiting at the extraterritorial spirit spring's teleportation array to the rest of the Barbarian Dragon Clan. He himself arrived at the approximate location of the void where the extraterritorial spirit spring was located. He guessed that if Ningcheng didn't come out through the teleportation array, he would come out from this location. He also had a lot of patience and had waited here for more than a year. Later, he suddenly felt a trace of mysterious yellow origin aura. But before he could investigate this trace of mysterious yellow origin aura, the aura disappeared. Then a bright spot of the starry sky will appeared on his void astrolabe disk. Later, Ningcheng sped up and fled away from his position, which allowed Man Huishan to confirm that this bright spot was Ningcheng, who had escaped from the extraterritorial spirit spring. Initially, Ningcheng's bright spot was getting closer and closer to him. He even thought that Ningcheng was a lamb under the knife. Unexpectedly, 2 days later, the bright spot he had to chase suddenly sped up. This made Man Huishan very depressed, and he once again accelerated his flight-type weapon. Now, not only did he suspect that Ningcheng had the 5-colored star splitter arrow, but he also suspected that Ningcheng had the mysterious yellow origin. If he really had the mysterious yellow origin, the benefits to him would be even more immeasurable. Fortunately, although he was open-minded, he didn't think of the mysterious yellow bead. Having the mysterious yellow origin didn't necessarily mean that it was the mysterious yellow bead. For Man Huishan, the mysterious yellow origin and the 5-colored star splitter arrow were more than enough for him to chase after Ningcheng at all costs. A few more days passed. Ningcheng's flight-type weapon was getting closer and closer to him, and he could even touch Ningcheng's starry sky wheel with his spiritual consciousness. However, he still felt that something was wrong, because Ningcheng was heading towards the land of broken laws. After confirming that Ningcheng really wanted to go to the land of broken laws, Man Huishan sneered. Even if you go to the land of broken laws, what can you do? Even in the land of broken laws, he could crush a puny eternal cultivator like crushing an ant. Although Ningcheng's expression remained calm, his heart grew more and more anxious. He could already see Man Huishan's flight-type weapon clearly from the astrolabe. At this speed, Man Huishan would most likely stop him before he could even enter the land of broken laws. Even Chasing Bull, who always liked to flatter, didn't continue to talk nonsense at this time. Instead, it nervously supplied spirit crystals to the starry sky wheel. I can't let this go on. Ningcheng's spirit essence and spiritual consciousness once again ignited, and the starry sky wheel accelerated once again. In the distance, Man Huishan, on seeing the starry sky wheel continue to accelerate, couldn't help but sneer. This was simply courting death. With this kind of acceleration, not only would Ningcheng die by the time he caught up, he wouldn't even have the ability to breathe. As the speed increased, Ningcheng's starry sky will also became clearer and clearer in Man Huishan's spiritual consciousness. At this time, Man Huishan didn't even need the void positional disc to see the starry sky wheel in a sorry state. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness also swept towards Man Huishan in the distance. Man Huishan stood at the front of the flight-type weapon and exuded an oppressive murderous aura. Even at such a distance, Ningcheng found it difficult to breathe. Chapter 9:14. As the spiritual consciousness pressure grew stronger, Ningcheng felt the flow of his spirit essence getting more and more difficult. Fortunately, the land of broken laws was right in front of him. Burning his essence blood once again, he stimulated the starry sky wheel to rush to the edge of the land of broken laws. Ningcheng then decisively switched to a top-grade starship. The moment the top-grade starship rushed into the land of broken laws, a huge void hand shadow grabbed over and directly tore apart the tail of the top-grade starship. Even without the tail, the starship still quickly rushed into the land of broken laws. Ning Cheng's expression turned ugly. He had almost been captured by Man Huishan. With the damage done to the starship, its speed also slowed down. Moreover, Ning Cheng noticed that after Man Huishan put away the void ship, its speed wasn't any slower than the damaged starship. Looking at the starship quickly disappearing into the land of broken laws, Man Huishan's face turned livid with anger. He put away his flight-type weapon and rushed into the land of broken laws. Ning Cheng, who was still repairing the starship, saw Man Huishan not using any flight-type weapon or any techniques. Just by running, Man Huishan's speed wasn't any slower than his starship. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. Fortunately, he had a top-grade starship. Otherwise, his speed would have been no different from a snail in front of Man Huishan. Man Huishan didn't expect Ning Cheng to prepare a top-grade starship. He had always scoffed at such things. But in the land of broken laws, a top-grade starship had become Ning Cheng's means of escape. Even so, Man Huishan didn't worry about Ning Cheng escaping from his hands. His speed kept increasing, but Ning Cheng's starship's speed kept slowing down. One day he would catch Ning Cheng. Unfortunately, he hadn't reached Dao unification yet. Otherwise, even in the land of broken laws, his void hand shadow could easily pick up Ning Cheng. But now he could only rely on chasing after Ning Cheng to stop him. Man Huishan soon felt that something was wrong. The starship, which was getting slower and slower, was gradually accelerating. Was he repairing the starship? Man Huishan almost vomited blood in anger. He couldn't figure out why a cultivator would learn such a shameful thing as technology. This Ning Cheng could even repair starships. Of course, Ning Cheng could repair starships. Not only could he repair starships, but he also possessed a divine flame. He repaired the missing parts of the starship as quickly as possible. Once the Starry Sky battleship was repaired, its speed would naturally increase. Seeing the Starry Sky battleship gradually leaving Man Huishan behind, Ning Cheng finally breathed in a sigh of relief. Only then did he have the opportunity to explore his surroundings. A very uncomfortable feeling welled up in his heart, causing Ning Cheng to sweep out with his spiritual consciousness, only to find that his spiritual consciousness could only sweep out a distance of 12 meters. He subconsciously condensed an essence chi handprint, but immediately discovered that his essence chi handprint could only condense within the range of his spiritual consciousness. Beyond the range of this divine sense, the essence chi hand seal would immediately disperse. He then raised his hand and condensed a spatial shackles, completely unable to form a space that belonged to him. In other words, the law of space was useless. He activated the law of time, but it was useless. Taking out a spear from his storage ring, Zhang Xian sent out a few spear patterns. However, as soon as the spear patterns were formed, they disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. The land of broken laws truly had no laws to speak of. His spirit techniques were almost useless here, and even his spiritual sense could only stretch out a few feet. Most likely, it was because of his Starry Sky Sea of Consciousness and the recent usage of the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills, which allowed his spiritual consciousness to soar. Otherwise, he might not even be able to stretch out 12 meters. Ning Cheng didn't continue to try out his spirit techniques. Ning Cheng believed that he couldn't use these spirit techniques. Even if Man Huishan was many times stronger than him, he might not be able to use these spirit techniques. If Man Huishan could really use lore-related spirit techniques, he would have already been caught a long time ago. At this moment, Ning Cheng focused on controlling the Starry Sky battleship to escape. If it weren't for the fact that the Starry Sky battleship's laser light cannons couldn't cause any damage to Man Huishan, Ning Cheng would have turned back and fired a few times. After flying the Starry Sky battleship for a few days, Ning Cheng finally stopped. By this time, Man Huishan had long since disappeared from his sight, so he didn't need to run anymore. Since his spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep out too far, Man Huishan might not necessarily know where he was. Starry Sky battleships also needed permanent essence pills or spirit crystals to power them. Ning Cheng didn't need spirit crystals, and only used permanent essence pills. However, this thing burned permanent essence pills at a terrifying rate. Therefore, the Starry Sky battleship quickly burned out a pile of permanent essence pills. As for his Starry Sky battleship, it was a pure technological product and couldn't be powered by spirit essence. Ning Cheng still had some spirit crystals on him, but he didn't know how long he would have to hide in the land of broken laws. Therefore, he had to use these spirit crystals sparingly. Apart from Guahauga's ring, which he hadn't opened yet, he didn't have many spirit crystals on him. 20 to 30 million spirit crystals might seem like a lot, but it could be used up quickly. At his level of strength, using permanent essence pills or Starry Sky spiritual veins for cultivation would have limited effects. As for leaving the land of broken laws, Ning Cheng didn't think about it for the time being. He felt sure that Man Huishan wouldn't let him go so easily. Because rogue cultivator Ji he killed River Luo Sacred Sect's sacred son Guahauga in the extraterritorial spirit spring. Because rogue cultivator Ji he didn't come out of the extraterritorial spirit spring for more than 5 years. Because rogue cultivator Ji he might also be the murderer of Dragon Emperor Man Huishan's son, Manjuran. Because rogue cultivator Ji he took out a medicinal pill that was beneficial to spiritual consciousness, and suspected to be the spirit essence pill. Moreover, because this rogue cultivator Ji he hid his strength, defeated Lu Yixian in the extraterritorial spirit spring, and occupied the first spring of the extraterritorial spirit spring. All of these factors made many powerhouses want to catch this rogue cultivator Ji he. They wanted to know how this Ji he changed his appearance. Was it as Man Huishan said, that Ji he wasn't Ji he, but another cultivator in disguise? Of course, this was just an excuse. Those who really wanted to catch Ji he did so because of the spirit essence pill. In the beginning, some sects felt a little afraid of the Profound Moon Spirit Gate. After all, Ji he and Profound Moon Spirit Gate's Qi Shixingsing were friends, very good friends. However, with Qi Shixingsing's disappearance and the blockade of the extraterritorial spirit springs teleportation array, no one from Profound Moon Spirit Gate came out to stop Ji he. As a result, more and more cultivators came to intercept Ji he. 8 years after the Grand Essence Great Meet, there was still no news about that rogue cultivator Ji he. Not only was there no news about the rogue cultivator Ji he, but even Man Huishan, who had the greatest hatred for Ji he, had also disappeared. It wasn't until recently that someone saw Dragon Emperor Man Huishan chasing Ji he into the land of broken laws 2 years ago, that the number of cultivators intercepting the extraterritorial spirit springs teleportation array gradually decreased. Whether Ji he had a secret or not, after hearing that Ji he had gone to the land of broken laws, many people gave up on the idea of intercepting Ji he. In the land of broken laws, a positional disc was useless. Many Dao-confirming powerhouses had lost their way after entering it, and eventually died. Since Ji he rushed into the land of broken laws, it most likely boded ill rather than well. 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond's Quest Hall. Yanji felt a little tired as she came to hand in her tasks. It had been 2 years since she joined the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. But over the past 2 years, she had continued to complete tasks. Her aptitude was considered good in the sect, but because of her crazy advancement, she continued to do all kinds of medicinal pills. As long as she could use them, she wouldn't hesitate to use them on herself. This had caused her foundation to suffer damage. She felt lucky to be able to join the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond this time. Junior apprentice Sister Yanji, you've only joined the sect for 2 years, but you've been doing tasks outside for the past 2 years. I don't think this distribution is very reasonable. A slightly soft voice rang in Yanji's ear. Yanji looked back and saw a yellow-haired girl. She quickly greeted. Yanji greets senior apprentice Sister Shulan. I joined the sect late, so I can only work harder. Yanji had been doing tasks outside. In addition to looking for cultivation resources for herself, she also wanted to inquire about Ningcheng. Well, you have to pay attention to yourself. Don't hurt your foundation. Otherwise, the gains won't make up for the losses. This yellow-haired girl had a kind personality and took good care of Yanji. I know. Thank you, senior apprentice Sister Shulan. Yanji had just responded when she saw the yellow-haired girl standing to the side, and bowing to a beautiful woman. Shu Lan greets senior apprentice Sister Shui. Yanji also recognized this woman. She was the genius of the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond, Shui Yueka. In the last Grand Essence Great Meet, she entered the top 10 and went to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. Recognizing Shui Yueka, Yanji also quickly bowed. Yanji greets senior apprentice Sister Shui. Shui Yueka nodded to the two but didn't answer. Instead, she walked past the two. Seeing Shui Yueka walk past, the yellow-haired girl called Shu Lan side and said to Yanji, "Junior apprentice Sister Yanji, senior apprentice Sister Shui's strength isn't any weaker than the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Even among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, she ranks at the top. It's just that senior apprentice Sister Shui doesn't like to show off. If not for going to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, senior apprentice Sister Shui wouldn't even participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet." Yanji nodded. "I've also heard about it. I heard that senior apprentice Sister Shui occupied the 6th stone door in the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. This position is even higher than that of Desolate Spirit Palace's Ji Pingzhong and Sunken Fish Palace's Zhongming Yuxiu." The yellow-haired girl showed a slight smile. "In fact, it's all thanks to that rogue cultivator named Ji He. That Ji He is too ruthless and overbearing. He killed Guohauge and forced Ji Pingzhong to enter the 10th stone door. Otherwise, even if senior apprentice Sister Shui is powerful, she wouldn't have been able to occupy the 6th position." "I heard that Ji He is a fake?" Yanji had also inquired about Ji He. Ji He's appearance coincided with Ning Cheng's disappearance, which made her doubt it. But because she couldn't see Qi Shizingsing, she could only speculate about it. The yellow-haired girl whispered, "There's no doubt that Ji He is a fake. I heard that he killed Manjuran. Dragon Emperor Man Huishan chased Ji He to the land of broken laws to avenge his son." Dragon Emperor Man Huishan chased Ji He to the land of broken laws? Yanji shuddered. She suddenly recalled the rumors she heard in the Grand Essence ruins. Man Huishan waited in the Grand Essence ruins for a few years to catch Ning Cheng. But now, Man Huishan chased Ji He to the land of broken laws. Ji He was a fake, and the time he appeared coincided with Ning Cheng's disappearance. Could this Ji He be Ning Cheng? Otherwise, how could a powerhouse like Man Huishan change his mind so casually? Chapter 9:15. By this time, Shui Yueka had already turned around, and Yanji quickly greeted her with a bow. Yanji greets senior apprentice Sister Shui. Shui Yueka nodded and asked, "Why are you looking for me?" Yanji quickly spoke up. "Yes, I heard that during the competition for the 10 stone doors of the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, there was a rogue cultivator named Ji He. I wonder if senior Sister Shui has the crystal ball of Swan He's battle? I want to observe it." When Shui Yueka heard that Yanji wanted Ji He's battle crystal ball, she frowned slightly. After hesitating for a moment, she took out a crystal ball and handed it to Yanji before speaking. "You can make a copy for yourself. It contains the scenes of Ji He's battles." Yanji felt overjoyed and quickly thanked her. She then took out a blank crystal ball and copied the crystal ball Shui Yueka had given her before returning it to Shui Yueka. Shui Yueka put away the crystal ball handed back by Yanji and spoke. "That Ji He's spiritual consciousness is very powerful. Even if you were to observe his battle scenes, it wouldn't make much sense. Thank you for your guidance, senior sister. I will remember it." Yanji could only express her gratitude once again. She naturally did not want the crystal ball to study it. She wanted to see if the Ji He in the crystal ball was Ning Cheng in disguise or not. When she and Ning Cheng were together, although most of the time they were in an unconscious state, but that period of time was the most unforgettable for her. She believed that as long as it was Ning Cheng, even if he changed his appearance, she would still be able to vaguely recognize him. Not with her eyes, but with her heart. As for the land of void-breaking laws outside the Grand Essence ruins, Yanji also knew that it wasn't a place she could go right now. Her current strength was still too weak to go to the land of broken laws. Ning Cheng put away the top-grade Starry Sky battleship. He didn't know if it was because of his battleship's flaws or because this was the land of broken laws. Every time he started the Starry Sky battleship, The permanent essence pills would burn away like water. Although he had so many permanent essence pills on him, most of them had already been consumed. He still had a few permanent essence pills left, but he couldn't use them all. He had to save some for emergencies. It's just that Man Huishan was like a maggot in his tarsal bone. No matter how far he went, this fellow could always find some clues. On several occasions, Ningcheng saw Man Huishan's figure. One could even say that if it weren't for the land of broken laws, coupled with his innate intuition for danger, Man Huishan would have already killed mini Ningcheng. If Ningcheng felt distressed over the permanent essence pills, then Man Huishan, who followed behind Ningcheng, felt even angrier. He never thought that he, a Tao essence powerhouse, would chase a puny eternal cultivator for 2 years. Even in the land of broken laws, Ningcheng's starry sky battleship had passed through the space around it. Relying on this point, he had been following behind Ningcheng. After escaping for 2 years in a row, Ningcheng had already gained some experience. As such, he did not feel too worried. Even if he sensed danger from afar and saw Man Huishan's figure, he could still bring out the starry sky battleship and calmly fly away. It would take a long time for Man Huishan to catch up with him again. Another swamp appeared in front of Ningcheng. It wasn't the first time Ningcheng had seen such a swamp in the land of broken laws. Generally, in such places, he would bring out his starry sky battleship and fly over. But this time, the swamp Ningcheng saw seemed slightly different from other places because he felt a trace of spatial vibration. The space in the land of broken laws had no laws at all. As such, there were no vibrations or other fluctuations at all. Just when Ningcheng was about to figure out what was going on, a sharp killing intent surged up in his heart once again. Ningcheng felt a little helpless and prepared to bring out his starry sky battleship. He knew that Man Huishan had once again caught up with him. But from the moment he sensed Man Huishan's arrival to the moment he saw Man Huishan, it would still take half an incense stick worth of time. Half an incense stick worth of time was more than enough for him to bring out his starry sky battleship and disappear without a trace. Ningcheng was just about to bring out his starry sky battleship when a loud explosion suddenly rang out in his ears. It had been 2 years since he entered the land of broken laws, and this place had remained very quiet. Ningcheng had never even seen a starry sky demonic beast before. Therefore, this sudden explosion made Ningcheng feel even more baffled. Before Ningcheng could react, the originally calm swamp in front of him suddenly fluctuated, and the swamp split apart at a rapid speed. Ningcheng, who was originally standing next to the swamp, immediately fell into it after the swamp split apart. Ningcheng felt anxious and quickly tried to bring out his starry sky battleship. However, he soon felt disappointed. He could still stretch out his spiritual consciousness, but now he couldn't even stretch out half a bit. Since he couldn't stretch out his spiritual consciousness, he naturally couldn't take out the things inside the ring. A powerful force swept over from the swamp, and Ningcheng found that he couldn't struggle at all. In just a dozen breaths, Ningcheng's legs had completely sunk into the swamp, and his body continued to fall. By this time, Man Huishan had already appeared in his line of sight. Man Huishan also saw Ningcheng fall into the swamp and immediately felt overjoyed. Even in the land of broken laws, his spiritual consciousness could still stretch out far. Ningcheng could escape from him not because of Ningcheng's strength, but because of that broken starry sky battleship. Now that Ningcheng fell into the swamp, it meant that he couldn't escape. But facing the rapidly splitting swamp, Man Huishan didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward. Ningcheng couldn't escape from the swamp, but it didn't mean that he couldn't escape. Boom! Another violent explosion sounded, and the speed at which the swamp was cracking became even faster. Man Huishan had already rushed towards Ningcheng, but the speed at which the swamp split apart increased. In the next moment, Man Huishan found himself engulfed by the swamp. Ningcheng kept a nervous look on Man Huishan's face. He worried that Man Huishan could still use his spiritual consciousness in the swamp. Although his sea of consciousness was a starry sky sea of consciousness, which made it even stronger than Tao sculpting cultivators, who was Man Huishan, a Tao essence expert at the second step Tao confirming realm. How could he be the same as him? The swamp's mud swept over and directly submerged Man Huishan. Ningqing breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Man Huishan submerged in the swamp's mud. As long as Man Huishan couldn't use his spiritual consciousness, it would be a blessing for him. He didn't even have room to struggle, let alone save himself. Once the swamp completely submerged him, he would most likely become the first eternal starry sky holy emperor to drown in the swamp's mud. But before Ningqing could breathe a sigh of relief, Man Huishan rushed out of the swamp once again. The next moment, Man Huishan brought out a small boat. Although the land of broken laws had gravity, it didn't have any buoyancy. The small boat would slowly sink in the swamp, but at a slower speed. Seeing Man Huishan bring out a small boat, Ningqing's heart turned cold. It meant that he couldn't use his spiritual consciousness, but Man Huishan could still use his spiritual consciousness. Even if Man Huishan couldn't use his spiritual consciousness to condense an essence chi handprint to catch him, as long as Man Huishan could use his spiritual consciousness, he would catch him sooner or later. Thinking of this, Ningqing sighed. He couldn't even enter the mysterious yellow bead right now. If Man Huishan really came over, he would rather sink to the bottom of the swamp and suffocate to death than get caught by this fellow. Man Huishan wiped the mud off his face and slowly approached Ningqing with the small boat. Relying on his spiritual consciousness, the small boat didn't sink into the swamp. His eyes filled with killing intent. A puny eternal ant had put him, a Tao essence expert, in such a difficult situation. Since he, Man Huishan, succeeded in reaching Tao confirming realm, when did he ever get wrapped in mud? A shadow suddenly shrouded the sky, and Ningqing, who was still sinking into the swamp, subconsciously raised his head. A huge footprint descended. Ningqing looked at the huge footprint above his head, and felt a little helpless. Even without Man Huishan, he couldn't have avoided this footprint. But soon, Ningqing felt pleasantly surprised. He found that the footprint was moving forward. Just as it was about to land on the swamp, the heel of the footprint moved away from his head. Looking at Man Huishan under the footprint, Ningqing suddenly felt a lot more comfortable. No matter what, it was still good to step on this old thing. Since it wasn't within the range of his foot, Ningqing finally had the time to look up at the object of the huge footprint. It was a giant. Although not as terrifying as Pan Qian, it was still more than a dozen meters tall. The most special thing about this giant was its foot, which was nearly 10 feet in length and was seriously uncoordinated. The giant also held a thick wooden stick in its hand, but Ningqing couldn't tell what material it was made of. Ningqing couldn't resist the falling footprint, but Man Huishan had the strength to resist it. He was a Tao essence powerhouse, so how could he let a footprint step into the swamp mud? Just as the huge footprint was about to fall, a blue saber-type weapon appeared in Man Huishan's hand. When Ningqing saw this saber-type weapon, his heart sank to the bottom. If Man Huishan hadn't used the boat, and had directly thrown that blue saber-type weapon at him, he would have died. Ningqing didn't know if Man Huishan didn't remember it, or if it was something else. Man Huishan naturally wouldn't forget about it. He knew that Ningqing couldn't escape, so how could he kill Ningqing so easily? Ningqing couldn't use his spirit essence or spiritual consciousness after falling into the swamp. At this time, if he used the saber-type weapon to kill Ningqing, it would only give Ningqing an external force. Ningqing would most likely use this external force to self-destruct. Moreover, he wanted to search Ningqing's soul, so how could he let Ningqing self-destruct? The only thing he didn't expect was that the swamp would split apart. Just as he was about to catch Ningqing, a giant footprint appeared. Of course, if it weren't for the swamp, Ningqing wouldn't have fallen into it. Poof! The blue saber-type weapon directly cut off the giant's foot. The giant screamed in pain, and his body fell to his knees like a giant mountain. But before the giant could kneel on the swamp, a huge palm slapped towards Man Huishan. Man Huishan, along with his boat, was directly sent flying by this slap. Ningqing could even hear the sounds of bones breaking in Man Huishan's body. Ningqing secretly felt happy in his heart. He knew that even if this slap broke all of Man Huishan's bones, it wouldn't do anything to Man Huishan. But Man Huishan had chased him for several years. Now that he received a slap, he could finally vent his anger. The giant's foot was cut off by Man Huishan. After slapping Man Huishan away, The giant immediately took out a handful of black things and stuffed them into its mouth. What surprised Ning Cheng was that after the giant swallowed the black things, it stood up from the swamp again. Moreover, its foot, which had been cut off, had already regenerated. What puzzled Ning Cheng even more was that as he sank deeper and deeper into the swamp, the giant stood on the surface and didn't sink at all. Chapter 9:16. The giant stood up and rushed towards Man Huishan again. By this time, Man Huishan had already climbed up, and his broken bones had completely healed. Seeing the giant coming over, Man Huishan's face filled with killing intent. He raised his hand, brought out a blade, and rushed towards the giant. Even if Man Huishan only had 1/10,000,000th of his original strength left, it wasn't something this giant could resist. What's more, Man Huishan was still on the periphery of the swamp. The blade shadows instantly enveloped the giant. Ning Cheng, who was inside the swamp, could clearly see that Man Huishan didn't use any spirit essence or spirit techniques. The blade shadows also didn't have any magical enhancements. They were just pure blade shadows. Even so, the giant's body continued to bleed profusely. Flesh and blood splattered from the giant's body, but the giant could only bombard it with his fists. After a few exchanges, Man Huishan's blade cut the giant into pieces. After Man Huishan understood that the giant only had immense strength, he didn't let the giant hit him again. The giant let out a mournful hiss and finally couldn't withstand Man Huishan's attacks, and fell to the ground again. Ning Cheng sighed. He guessed that this giant wouldn't be able to survive this time. He felt some sympathy for the giant in his heart. He always felt that this giant came from the same race as Pan Qian. Aye! A shrill scream rang out, and a black shadow quickly appeared beside the giant from the swamp. This black shadow, like Ning Cheng, was a man with a normal figure. He rushed towards the giant and spoke in a shrill tone. Ning Cheng saw that he was carrying a huge beast's head in his hand. The moment he rushed towards the giant, he threw the beast's head aside. When Man Huishan saw another person coming, he raised the blade in his hand again, and shot it towards the newcomer. What surprised Ning Cheng even more was that a white light burst out of the man's body, and blasted away Man Huishan's blade. Was this the light of a weapon? Ning Cheng's eyes immediately widened. Spells shouldn't be used in the land of broken laws. So why did this person have a defensive weapon on him? Not to mention him, even Man Huishan couldn't use spells. Otherwise, why would Man Huishan wait until now to catch him? You can use spells? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Man Huishan looked at the man in front of him in shock. He could still mobilize some divine essence and divine sense. And he could also create a magical light. However, because this was the land of broken laws, Ning Cheng's Tao couldn't go higher than the laws here. As such, the moment he cast his spells, they would dissipate in an instant and wouldn't pose much of a threat. Because of this, he looked at the man in front of him in disbelief. Could it be that the man's cultivation was higher than his? Able to form its own world of laws? Only powerhouses who could form their own world of laws at any time and place could ignore the laws in such a place. Even the land of broken laws couldn't affect them from displaying their spirit techniques. Such experts were few and far between. Even his barbarian dragon clansman Suatian did not dare to say that he could form his own world of laws here. No, I understand now. Man Huishan understood in a blink of an eye why this man's body had a white light that could block his blade. When the man saw that there was no way to save a Yi, he stood up and stared at Man Huishan with hatred in his eyes. Dharma cultivator, you killed a Yi. You are a life and death enemy of my Blue True Hope tribe. We won't rest until you die. As the man spoke, he raised a horn-shaped horn, and put it in his mouth before blowing it hard. At the same time, he stared at Man Huishan. Man Huishan stared at Ning Cheng with hatred. He didn't want to leave until he caught Ning Cheng. After half an incense stick worth of time, a few figures rushed over. Soon more and more cultivators arrived. It didn't take long for countless figures to rush over. These people looked similar to the man who blew the horn. They were all barefoot, with long hair draped over their shoulders, wrapped in tree bark, and holding wooden sticks made of unknown materials in their hands. When these people saw the giant lying on the ground, His body was badly mutilated by the saber weapons. They all angrily roared. Apart from the man who came first, Ningqing couldn't understand what the people who came later were talking about. Apparently, these people all felt very angry. Because of Ye's death, these people surrounded Man Huishan. Man Huishan also seemed to feel something was wrong, and wanted to retreat temporarily. However, each of these people who came over would leave behind a faint white light shadow after each attack. These light shadows seemed to have a special effect, and Man Huishan couldn't escape. Countless wooden sticks shot towards Man Huishan, and the shadow created by Man Huishan's knife drew out a bloody shadow. Not everyone had a protective magic treasure like the man who came first. Man Huishan killed more and more people. These people didn't fear death, and the more people died, the more people came to surround them. Finally, a person's stick hit Man Huishan's hand. The knife in Man Huishan's hand hadn't been activated, so the stick hit it and sent it flying. But to Ningqing's surprise, Man Huishan didn't take out another knife. Man Huishan wanted to take out his knife again, but he couldn't even stretch out his spiritual consciousness. He was surrounded by these eccentric people, and the faint light directly suppressed his spiritual consciousness. At first, the suppression wasn't too severe, but as these people rotated and attacked faster and faster, more and more white lights appeared. In the end, his already pitiful spiritual consciousness was completely suppressed. Bang bang bang. Wooden sticks slammed into Man Huishan's body, and each wooden stick that hit Man Huishan's body would produce a burst of white light. Then, Man Huishan would become even more dispirited. Man Huishan knew that he couldn't go on like this. Every time he got hit, it didn't actually cause him any more injuries. However, every time the white light struck his body, his mind would become even more exhausted, and his strength would become even weaker. Ningqing, who originally took pleasure in other people's misfortune, felt a deep sense of fear in his heart. He felt a familiar aura coming from the white light. It was the power of hope, and he believed that his senses weren't wrong. Just when Ningqing thought that Man Huishan couldn't escape, Man Huishan suddenly let out a sharp roar, and opened his mouth to spit out a golden light. The next moment, the golden light wrapped around him and disappeared without a trace. Man Huishan's sudden departure left the group of people surrounding and attacking Man Huishan in a daze. They didn't think that someone could escape under such circumstances. Ningqing sighed in his heart. This second step Dao confirming expert was simply an unkillable cockroach. If Ningqing had his spirit essence and spiritual consciousness shackled, he wouldn't have been able to escape under the pressure of so many people. This was clearly the land of broken laws. Yet this group of people could unleash a spell like white light to suppress Man Huishan. Moreover, Man Huishan could escape with the golden light. With Man Huishan gone, the rest of the people quickly turned their gazes to Ningqing. The man who came first quickly walked up to Ningqing, followed by a group of people. The rest of the people lifted up the giant, and the people killed by Man Huishan. This man looked a bit delicate, and apart from the hysteria he showed after learning of Ye's death, he looked calm. Ningqing didn't wait for the man to speak and took the initiative to speak with cupped fists. Many thanks for everyone's life-saving grace. That fellow chased me until now. If you hadn't come here, I would have died a long time ago. This was Ningqing's application of psychology. When he was with these barbarians, he first thanked them for saving his life and made them think that he owed them a debt. Then he said that they had a common enemy, which would reduce some of the hostility. Sure enough, the man's expression turned a bit warmer. He nodded and said, "I can see that you're not on the same side as that Dharma cultivator." While speaking, he immediately pulled Ningqing out of the swamp. Then he took out a rough bracelet made of tree bark and handed it to Ningqing. "Put this on." Ningqing put the bracelet on his hand in doubt, but he was surprised to find that the swamp under his feet no longer had any suction force on him. However, Ningqing also found that his spiritual consciousness still didn't budge. "Where did you come from?" The man had just asked a question when another burly man with a face full of black lumps came over and started talking to this man. This time, Ningqing couldn't understand a single word, and could only feel the anger in this man's face. Sure enough, after the man argued with the black lumps for a while, he apologetically said to Ningqing, This lump feels that you're a bit dangerous, and your origin is unknown. He thinks that you're probably from the side of Dharma cultivators. So, I'm going to tie you up and take you back to see our king. Sure enough, this fellow was called a lump. Ningcheng secretly cursed at his bad luck and could only ask helplessly, I'm not from the side of Dharma cultivators. That fellow chased me here, and then fell into the swamp. The somewhat handsome man seemed to have a good impression of Ningcheng. He patted Ningcheng on the shoulder and said, You don't have to worry. Our king is a very kind person. Our entire Blue True Hope tribe is also different from the Dharma cultivators. They like to kill and scheme against each other. Our people believe in heaven and earth and sincerely pray every day. The more Ningcheng listened, the more scared he felt. He was a full-circle eternal cultivator, and even his celestial essence had completely transformed into spirit essence. However, he still did not understand what the power of hope was. In fact, when he was in the Yixing mainland, he had already come into contact with this kind of thing. Initially, when he had crossed the Yixing Ocean, he had relied on the true Brahma Buddha fire will-type magical weapon that was imbued with the power of hope. Even now he still had a wish jade seal on him. Before this, he could clearly feel that the white light that these people's wooden sticks shot out had the aura of wish power. Moreover, this person mentioned something about the Blue True Hope tribe and the king, which gave him a familiar feeling. When he was in the desert of the Yixing mainland, he had encountered something called the Lani country, and then he had encountered a North Jew tribe. Ningcheng clearly remembered that the king of the North Jew tribe was called Lan Xiao. Originally he wanted to ask what was going on with this swamp. How did it split apart after the explosion? But at this time his future was uncertain. As such, Ningcheng was not in the mood to ask about it. Without Man Huishan's pursuit, a group of inexplicable people forced him to go to the Blue True Hope tribe. Ningcheng didn't feel very happy about it. When Man Huishan hunted him down, he still had freedom. This group of people quickly passed through the swamp and entered a narrow canyon passage. Many people did not follow them in. Instead, they stayed outside the canyon passage. After passing through the canyon passage, Ningcheng saw green for the first time. This was a vast expanse of land. The first thing that came into view was a statue that towered into the clouds. Ningcheng's gaze fell on this statue and felt surprised. He already had a part of this statue. A barefooted girl dressed in blue slowly walked out. Behind her were several men and women. The blue-robed girl's gaze stopped on the dead Yi for a while before slowly shifting to the tied-up Ningcheng. Chapter 9:17. The lower half of the statue was a bird with its wings spread. It was unknown what material was used to carve this bird, but it was several meters tall. On the back of the bird stood a statue of a person looking up at the void. Ningcheng simply could not see whether this person was a man or a woman. Ningcheng possessed the Lani country's imperial jade seal, and the upper half of it was a bird spreading its wings. The bird on the jade seal was exactly the same as the bird under the feet of this person. I have a feeling that you have something that I need. The blue-robed girl suddenly spoke to Ningcheng. After saying that, she waved her hand. A ray of light flashed, and the rope binding Ningcheng's body immediately broke apart. Power of hope again. Ningcheng sighed. He didn't expect the power of hope in the land of broken laws to be so useful. Ningcheng guessed that this blue-robed young girl was most likely talking about the imperial jade seal. He was secretly shocked in his heart at this young girl's keen intuition, but at the same time he was glad that he had prepared himself well beforehand. To prevent Man Huishan from catching him, he kept his true spirit world in the mysterious yellow bead. The ring in his hand contained only some ordinary weapons, a starry sky battleship, some healing pills, permanent essence pills, and a few bottles of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills. Even if this girl were to check his ring, there would be nothing to check. Since the imperial jade seal was in the mysterious yellow bead, Ningcheng was not afraid of the other party finding it out. The mysterious yellow bead resided in the depths of his sea of consciousness. Even someone like Man Huishan couldn't sense it, so no matter how strong this girl was, she couldn't find it. As for asking him to take the initiative to hand over the imperial jade seal to please the other party, he could forget about it. His imperial jade seal did not fall from the sky. And now that he thought about it, this imperial jade seal should be very useful to him. Previously, Man Huishan didn't even have the strength to fight back against a group of barbaric fellows. Moreover, he had to rely on the power of hope. And this young girl had just waved her hand to break the ropes binding him. It was also because of the power of will. He had forgotten to use the hope-powered jade seal to deal with that fellow while being chased by Man Huishan. In the land of broken laws, he still had a little bit of his spiritual consciousness. He had also refined the wish-powered jade seal a little, so he could definitely use it. The jade seal itself contained the power of hope. According to Ning Cheng's observations, the power of hope wasn't affected by the land of broken laws. It would definitely give that old man Huishan a pleasant surprise. Seeing Ning Cheng's blank look, as if he didn't know what she was talking about, the blue-robed girl turned to the people carrying a yi and said, "Take a yi and pray for him. Let a ye's soul stay with our Hope tribe forever." "Yes, your majesty." A few men carrying a yi hurriedly responded, and carried a yi to the plaza in front of the statue. Ning Cheng still had a blank and puzzled look on his face. In fact, he simply did not understand the meaning of the blue-robed girl's words a moment ago. If he knew about it, then his entire body would have turned cold. After the blue-robed girl finished speaking, she unexpectedly smiled at Ning Cheng and spoke. "Honorable guest from outside, please follow me in." Ning Cheng quickly nodded, and hurriedly followed behind this blue-robed girl, with a relieved expression on his face. The blue-robed girl waved her hand to signal the men and women who were originally following her not to follow her. She then led Ning Cheng through the plaza, and into a nice-looking stone castle building. Her Majesty really was different from those people outside, who could only wear tree bark. The outside of this stone castle looked ordinary, but after entering, it turned out to be extremely luxurious. The blue-robed girl led Ning Cheng to a room that exuded a faint fragrance. As soon as Ning Cheng came in, he knew that this place should be the blue-robed girl's residence. The pink curtains made the room feel a little ambiguous. Everything in the room exuded a different aura. Ning Cheng didn't have his spiritual consciousness, but he could feel that these things weren't any worse than ordinary Dao artifacts. He couldn't understand why this blue-robed girl brought him to her residence. "I know you're not an ordinary person, so you don't have to pretend to be at a loss after coming here. Sit down first, let's talk." The blue-robed girl sat down and spoke straightforwardly. Seeing that Ning Cheng still didn't speak, the blue-robed girl could only sigh. "You escaped the pursuit of a Dao-confirming powerhouse and came to the vicinity of the Blue True Hope tribe. It would be strange if you were simple. Don't tell me that the person who chased you wasn't a Dao-confirming powerhouse. If not, he wouldn't have been able to kill a yi. My Blue True Hope tribe fled to the depths of the land of broken laws, and I hate Dharma cultivators the most. If I'm not mistaken, you should also be a Dharma cultivator, right?" Ning Cheng had to say, "I don't know what a Dharma cultivator is. But if Her Majesty is referring to Dharma cultivators who absorb the essence chi of heaven and earth, then I'm indeed a Dharma cultivator. I'm very grateful to the Blue True Hope tribe for saving me." The blue-robed girl nodded. "You Dharma cultivators don't have to address me as Her Majesty like my people. My name is Lanbing. You can also tell me about your origins." Ning Cheng spoke up directly. "My name is Ning Cheng. I killed the junior sect master of a sect, and ended up being chased by this sect master. I had no way to escape, and could only escape to the land of broken laws." Lanbing frowned. "My Blue True Hope tribe used to live a peaceful life in the land of broken laws. But because of the constant influx of Dharma cultivators fleeing into my Blue True Hope tribe's land of broken laws, our peaceful life was broken." Ning Cheng couldn't help but think that she was truly shameless. When did the land of broken laws become your Blue True Hope tribes? This was clearly an ownerless land in the void. "I know you have something I need. If you take it out, I promise that you can leave this place unscathed." Lanbing didn't continue with the previous topic, but directly asked Ning Cheng to take out the thing. Ning Cheng felt a wave of displeasure in his heart. Despite feeling unhappy, he could only sigh and say, "I really don't know what you want. If I could open the ring, I would have opened it immediately and shown it to you." Lanbing showed a slight smile and suddenly took out a disc. She casually tapped on the disc a few times and muttered something before placing the disc on the table in front of Ningcheng. Now you can open the ring. Ningcheng felt shocked. This disc seemed to have a law force field that made up for the laws in this space. Sure enough, he could stretch out his spiritual consciousness. This Hope tribe could actually control a cultivator's spiritual consciousness. It was truly terrifying. Fortunately, this was the land of broken laws. If it were outside, he could sweep through the entire Grand Essence realm with just this alone. Ningcheng removed the restrictions on the ring and placed it on the table before saying, "Miss Lan Bing, take a look for yourself." He believed that Lan Bing could also see what was inside his ring. As for the sudden attack, Ningcheng directly ignored it. This was someone else's territory, just like his own domain in battle. While Lan Bing checked the ring, Ningcheng used his spiritual consciousness to engrave an array formation under the floor of the room. Before coming into contact with the dark nether devouring spirit scroll, he could already stimulate his spiritual consciousness to attack his opponent. After coming into contact with the dark nether devouring spirit scroll, he could now use his spiritual consciousness to engrave a monitoring array in front of a young girl from the Hope tribe. A few minutes later, Ningcheng finished engraving a monitoring array formation, and Lan Bing put down Ningcheng's ring. There was a look of disappointment on her face. Apparently, she didn't gain anything. "Take the ring. What I want isn't in your ring. Maybe my intuition is wrong." Lan Bing's tone turned even more polite. Ningcheng quickly said that it didn't matter. But just as he was about to take back his ring, his heart suddenly moved. He had just engraved a monitoring array formation, which allowed him to use his spiritual consciousness. Once Lan Bing took away the disc, his monitoring array formation would become useless in the land of broken laws. Thinking of this, he quickly took out an exquisite bracelet and handed it to the blue-robed girl. "Miss Lan Bing, thank you for saving my life. This bracelet is a small token of my appreciation." This bracelet looked like an ordinary defensive magical weapon, but Ningcheng had hidden a listening device inside the bracelet. These small technological products were all made by him. Ningcheng didn't know how many of these things he had refined along the way. Originally, he planned to monitor Man Huishan's tracks. But later, it turned out that this thing had no effect at all, so Ningcheng gave up. Now he decided to give it to this Blue Ice King. "Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Brother Ning. You must have worked hard all the way here. Go and rest first. I have something to discuss with you later." Lan Bing's tone grew softer. Just as she finished speaking, a middle-aged woman came in from outside the door. The woman led Ningcheng out of the stone castle and into a wooden house next to the stone castle. After the middle-aged woman left, Ningcheng quickly took out the jade bottle hidden in his hand. After entering the land of broken laws, he could still release his spiritual consciousness a little. But after coming here, he couldn't release his spiritual consciousness at all. While Lan Bing checked his ring, he took the opportunity to take out a bottle of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills. After swallowing the pill, Ningcheng immediately operated the dark nether devouring spirit scroll to refine the pill. In addition to devouring spiritual consciousness, the dark nether devouring spirit scroll could also enhance one's spiritual consciousness during cultivation. Previously, Ningcheng was afraid of side effects and didn't dare to let go of his cultivation. But now he had no choice but to cultivate. For a starry sky cultivator, without spiritual consciousness or spirit essence, it was tantamount to becoming a cripple. But now, Ningcheng dared to cultivate this cultivation method for two other reasons. One was that he had modified this cultivation method, and the other was the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill. The effects of the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill far exceeded Ningcheng's expectations. This medicinal pill could even cut off the foreign spiritual consciousness in one sea of consciousness. If combined with the dark nether devouring spirit scroll, Ningcheng believed that he could cultivate this spiritual consciousness cultivation method. After just a dozen breaths, Ningcheng was pleasantly surprised to feel his spiritual consciousness extending out. At first it was only 1 or 2 meters, but it extended to 5 or 6 meters. The dark nether devouring spirit scroll combined with the consciousness transmutation pill was simply too powerful. It could even stretch out one's spiritual consciousness in this land of broken laws. Overjoyed, Ningcheng threw another Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill into his mouth and continued to refine the medicinal pill while cultivating the spiritual consciousness cultivation method. With the help of the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness grew stronger and stronger. Soon, he could clearly see several people guarding his wooden house 10 meters away. Ningcheng carefully scanned the ring with his spiritual consciousness and breathed a sigh of relief when he didn't find any markings. Just when he wanted to continue refining the consciousness transmutation pill, the monitoring array formation he had arranged in Lan Bing's room suddenly changed. Lan Bing didn't put away the disc. Ningcheng quickly took out a crystal ball and checked the situation in Lan Bing's room. Chapter 9:18. Ningcheng had already seen the situation in Lan Bing's room. Lan Bing didn't put away the disc but sat on a chair and looked at the bracelet Ningcheng gave her. If his spiritual consciousness hadn't extended to more than 10 meters, he wouldn't have been able to sense the monitoring array formation. If he wanted to see the monitoring array formation, he would have to set up a display array formation. After a while, a beautiful woman walked in. Lan Bing saw the beautiful woman come in and quickly put down the bead. She stood up and bowed. "Binger greets Aunt Li." The beautiful woman nodded with a smile, sat down and asked, "I heard that you invited a young man from outside to your room today?" Lan Bing nodded and said, "Yes, I did invite someone over today. His name is Ningcheng, and he should be a Dharma cultivator." Seeing that the beautiful woman was about to continue speaking, Lan Bing suddenly interrupted her. "Aunt Li, wait a moment. This bracelet was given to me by that Ningcheng who came today. I should put this bracelet in the auditorium as a precious gift." Being interrupted by Lan Bing, the beautiful woman was slightly startled and seemed surprised. Ningcheng also felt a little puzzled. Looking at Lan Bing's respect for the beautiful woman and the woman's reaction, it stood to reason that Lan Bing rarely did such rude things. Lan Bing didn't care about the middle-aged woman's surprised expression. She clapped her hands, and the middle-aged woman who had just sent Ningcheng away came in again. Lan Bing carefully placed the bracelet in the middle-aged woman's palm. "This is a gift from a distinguished guest. Take it to the auditorium and place it carefully." "Yes, Your Majesty." The middle-aged woman held the bracelet from Ningcheng and carefully walked out of the room. After the middle-aged woman left, Lan Bing bowed to the beautiful woman and said, "Binger acted presumptuously just now. Please punish me, Aunt." The beautiful woman nodded with a smile. "Sit down. You did a good job. These Dharma cultivators are all insidious, and no one knows if there's anything wrong with that bracelet. It's not wrong to be careful." Ningcheng took in a deep breath. This girl turned out to be quite astute. Fortunately, he had set up 2 monitoring methods by accident. "Well, Aunt Li, I suspect that Ningcheng has our Hope Tribe's sacred object on him. But he showed me the ring, and I didn't find that thing," Lan Bing said in a very cautious tone after sitting down. The beautiful woman's face also turned serious. "I came here for this matter. Today, my Hope Tribe's sacred butterfly statue fluctuated with the power of hope. Now that you have the same feeling, it means that it might be true. Dharma cultivators have thousands of tricks up their sleeves, and they are sinister and cunning. Sometimes, even if we kill them and turn them into ashes, we might not be able to find what we need." Lan Bing nodded and said, "I know, Aunt Li. After I didn't find any clues about the sacred butterfly, I gave up on threatening him and was very polite to him." The beautiful woman said in agreement, "That's right. Since we know that the sacred relic is most likely with him, we can take our time." "Aunt Li," Lan Bing hesitated for a moment before continuing, "I want to marry him. Let's find that thing first." The beautiful woman looked at Lan Bing in amazement. "You want to reconcile yin and yang with him and feel where the sacred object is hidden? What about after that? Have you thought about your future?" Lan Bing's tone was much more resolute this time. "As long as we find the relic, we can kill him again and let his soul worship the holy statue forever." When Ningcheng heard this, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. This blue-robed girl was so insidious. She even wanted to find out about his hidden Imperial Jade Seal through having a relationship with him. Not only that, but after they had sex and found the item, they would also kill him and make his soul worship the strange statue on the square forever. What Ningcheng didn't expect was that the bird he couldn't recognize was just a butterfly. Why would it call itself a sacred butterfly? It stood to reason that Lan Bing wouldn't be able to detect his things in the mysterious yellow bead. The reason why Lan Bing could sense the Imperial Jade Seal was probably because he had refined this thing and even used it to fight against his enemies. The beautiful woman frowned a little. After a while, she sighed and said, "After you find the sacred object on him, you don't have to kill him. If his bloodline is good, you can use him to pass on my Hope Clan's next generation." Lan Bing shook her head. "He has to die. I can feel traces of fighting with a sacred object on him. This person refined my Hope Clan's sacred object and used it to fight. This sin is unforgivable." The beautiful woman didn't try to persuade her anymore and just said, "This person can escape from a Tao-confirming powerhouse and come here. Presumably he's also a talented person. Most Dharma cultivators have a firm will and are difficult to be swayed by external objects." Lan Bing took in a deep breath and said, "I believe that with my appearance, no matter how firm that foreign Dharma cultivator's will is, he wouldn't ignore me." Ningcheng sneered. This blue-robed girl didn't look ugly, but she could only be considered delicate. Did she want to tempt him with her looks? Unless she had changed her appearance, but Ningcheng couldn't see any trace of it on her. Are you sure he's not one of those vicious Dharma cultivators in the land of broken laws? What if one of them knows that the bestowing lawless fruit is about to mature and deliberately came here? The beautiful woman said hesitantly. Lan Bing spoke with certainty. He's not one of them. I can see that he has only been in the land of broken laws for a few years at most. Moreover, I don't feel any killing intent towards Qiao Yi from him. If it were those people from the land of broken laws, they would have definitely revealed their killing intent. What's more, these Dharma cultivators are all selfish. They would never use such a trick to harm our Hope Clan. It's because they have no trust, no faith, and no friends. When the beautiful woman heard this, she cautiously said to Lan Bing, "Bing, or you can't have such thoughts. These Dharma cultivators trapped in the land of broken laws might be selfish, but in the vast world outside, not everyone is selfish. They have sex, friends, and Tao companions. They even have faith, but their beliefs are different from ours. Among them, there are also some respectable powerhouses." As the beautiful woman spoke, she seemed to have thought of something, and her voice paused for a moment. "Bing, or will remember Aunt Li's teachings." After hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lan Bing immediately accepted it with respect and humility. The beautiful woman's expression eased a little, and she spoke again. "The bestowing lawless fruit is a supreme holy fruit. Perhaps there are Tao fruits in other places that are more precious than the bestowing lawless fruit. But in the grand essence realm outside, once a holy fruit like the bestowing lawless fruit spreads out, it can even be called the number one Tao fruit in the grand essence realm. The bestowing lawless fruit absorbs the laws of heaven and earth, and takes 90,000 years to mature. This is the hope of my Hope Clan, so we must not take it lightly." Ningcheng felt shocked when he heard this. He had never heard of a Tao fruit like the bestowing lawless fruit. But this beautiful woman's introduction was simply heaven-defying. A Tao fruit that devoured the laws of heaven and earth to survive? 90,000 years to mature? Did the land of broken laws not have any laws because the bestowing lawless fruit had devoured the laws here? Just to condense the bestowing lawless fruit? Ningcheng suddenly felt a little expectant in his heart. If this Tao fruit could be used to confirm one's Tao, just how powerful would it be? The beautiful woman continued. "My Hope Clan has gradually withered, and in the long run, it's likely to disappear from the vast universe. The sacred ancestors' power of hope could no longer be restored, and it has since dissipated from the vast world. With the sacred ancestor gone, the Hope Clan no longer has the power to recover. Therefore, the sacred fruit is our only hope. If the sacred fruit leaked out, the land of broken laws would plunge into a bloody storm, and my Hope Clan would cease to exist. I heard that some of our bloodline have wandered to other planar boundaries. I think that even if the land of broken laws is destroyed, my Hope Clan will still exist with the universe. Lan Bing replied. The beautiful woman sighed. Let's not talk about how many of those bloodlines are left. Even if some of them remain, how many of them can break through the layers of heavenly Tao shackles? Reorganize the Hope clan? I'm afraid that's just an extravagant hope. The sacred statue hasn't watered the prayers and power of hope of other planar boundaries for a long time. After speaking, the beautiful woman suddenly asked, A Yi was killed by that Dharma cultivator. Did you let someone take a Ye's soul to pray for the sacred ancestor? Lan Bing nodded. Yes, a Yi contains the bloodline of an ancient giant. Praying in front of the sacred statue brings dozens of times more power of hope than ordinary people. Therefore, I decided to let a Yi live with the sacred statue forever. The beautiful woman sighed. Maybe you're right. I was too hesitant and missed too many things. Let's not talk about this anymore. I'll take you to see the bestowing lawless fruit. The sacred fruit is about to mature. Ningqing shuddered when he heard this. Only now did he understand how vicious this seemingly genial and harmless young queen was. From the sad words of the man who wanted to save a Yi, Ningqing could tell how much a Yi had contributed to the Hope clan. Ningqing didn't know how a Yi came to be, but Ningqing felt sure that he was loyal to the Hope clan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won the love and respect of so many people in the Hope clan. Such a loyal person to the Hope clan had died, and this young queen had suppressed his soul, forcing him to pray to the sacred statue for eternity. Moreover, the beautiful woman also thought that the young queen was right. It was simply too shameless. Originally, Ningqing only suspected that a Yi had some connection with the giant Pan Qian. But now he was almost certain that a Yi and Pan Qian were from the same race because they both had ancient bloodlines. Lan Bing followed the beautiful woman out of the room. Ningqing wanted to secretly follow them to see where the bestowing lawless fruit was and what it looked like. But he also knew that it wasn't realistic. His strength was still too low. Fortunately, he learned that Lan Bing wanted the imperial jade seal on him, so she shouldn't do anything to him for the time being. Converging his thoughts, Ningqing continued to cultivate his spiritual consciousness with the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill. As long as his spiritual consciousness could cover a radius of about 5 miles, he would have the ability to protect himself. Time passed in this manner, and for the next few days, no one else came to bother Ningqing except for the occasional spirit fruit. Ningqing felt happy and peaceful, and he almost put all his attention into cultivating his spiritual consciousness. On this day, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness had just broken through to about 100 meters when the middle-aged woman who had brought Ningqing here came over again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.